For every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and it is November 7th, YC125, and it's only 7 days left, but who's counting? This is the Eve Universe Show! Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to be doing the monthly economic report before we jump into the iceberg, but before we even jump into that, hi, guys! Welcome, welcome, welcome to all you guys who've been chatting already. Nicholas, Torres, Comey, OM, Mad Hatter, Virewolf, Von Blue, of course, Arydanika the Queen, and Bread. Yeah, and Lazy One, 101. There's a lot of you here. Malak, 07. So, am I going to explain what's going on with this new content? I've already done a couple of breakdowns of what has been announced. And whatnot. I do think that okay, this week, either tomorrow or the next day, either I'm going to do a bonus stream tomorrow, or on Thursday there will be a stream that is related to Raid Shadow Legends, mostly because I want to get that done for the month before the 14th. For what should be obvious reasons, I'm not going to want to have my attention to like split after the 14th. So, but between then, we still have, Friday and Monday and a few other places. So we'll probably do like a what to expect now that it's coming out. But there's a lot of details that we won't know until it's live. So on Tuesday and beyond, we will be streaming a ton and breaking things down, making guides and videos. I've already got some fits built up for invited folks based on faction warfare fits. Couple of quick questions. Why do I think Gallente? So Gallente is Gallente Caldari Warzone is a much bigger, well, at least it was a lot bigger. Now it's just a little bit bigger. And so it feels like the grudge matches there are a little bit longer term. Whereas in the Ammar, it's much more volatile, Ammar Mimitar. Although I will say that the Mimitar and the Ammar have been like really on point when it comes to propaganda recently. But just realize with this new incursion or this new insurrection system coming, you will have Garistas pilots attacking both the Caldari and the Gallente, and Angel pilots both digging into Angel pirates both attacking the Mimitar and the Ammar. So yeah. Why do we choose Angels? Partially because we wanted to not have a conflict of interest with Aderon Robotics, because Aderon Robotics still remains a member of the Convocation and is sided with Gallente Militia. And Angels are really, really cool. Okay. We don't have a ton of time today. Mostly because, I did play the Vanguard playtest this morning. I had a lot of fun. It looks really good. And I'm super excited for what's going to have next, what they're coming up with next. And I believe that that's legally all I can tell you guys right now. I had a long conversation with CCP about what I would and wouldn't be allowed to say because of the NDAs and stuff. Suffice it to say, I liked it a lot. It was fun. It was very similar to what we saw at FanFest, and I can't wait for more. Let's see. Other things. Oh, there was a poll that was put up last week. There was a poll put up last week by Aryadenika for what sort of video, which video to edit first. There was overwhelming support towards the iceberg video. However, the iceberg video does require a little bit more editing time because I want to get like the correct footage for the different different people talking and all that stuff. So it has started, but it's going to take a little bit longer, and I think that there might be another video that comes out beforehand because of that. But just know that Danny has been, stressing it out all weekend, so if they're going to actually do something with Zarzak, or is it simply going to be a transit hub, they've straight up, they've said that for the foreseeable future, we will see a lot of new content coming up in for Zarzak, both involving, coming out of Zarzak into other places and maybe bringing things to Zarzak, but also within the system itself as we further unlock the Fulcrum. So, yeah. I didn't have any problems with specs myself, although I have a pretty nice computer. Acts like he doesn't enjoy my 6 a.m. monologues about content. I love all of your monologues, Danny. It's also worth noting that I stayed up really late last night, so I'm kind of tired today. Also, if you're in Raid Shadow Legends and in our clan, there's a Clan v Clan right now, and we're losing, so get to it. All right. All that said, let's get started. Let's jump into it. Make sure to like the stream before we do. Hold on. Oh, man. There's only 8 likes on the stream for 50 viewers. Okay, I'm going to wait like a minute or two. Once we have like 10, 15 likes at least. I'm holding information ransom. 07 Burek. Getting closer. 10 done. Oh, whoa. How to get 10 likes in one tick. All right, so let us proceed with the monthly economic report. As per normal, here is the October monthly report, but I also have the previous 3, July, August, and September, in order to do that, or in order for references. Wow. How do you get likes for your channel? Well, it's super easy. Barely an inconvenience. All right. Turns out ransoming works. I always honor my ransom. So let's go. Let's jump into this. First one is the production versus destruction versus mining. So remember that, so the September line is here. So we're really only looking at, we see this big spike up in September, and it's basically been leveled in October, more or less, right? Likewise, we do see it continue to climb in production. Now, we have seen a little bit of the whole war stuff happening, so this could have been a lot of the preparation for the war that's been heating up nullsec. And it's also very likely preparation for the expansion, right? Like, we got all the information about the expansion. We now know a bunch of stuff, but there's nothing to do yet. So, yeah. Let's see how that plays out. Destruction per region. We always like to look at Pochfin, 1.72 trillion versus 1.68. So it is up a little bit. 1.8. Yeah, but that 1.8 is from, I think, the if you remember, there was that big eviction thing. Let's see how mining's doing in Pochfin. Mining is up. What is that? Exports. $5.4. 5.8. Imports are up. 1.4. Or sorry, exports. 1.8. Imports are down, but these are not by much. Does Pochfin have loyalty points? No. Simple to hold this ransom, yeah. Same old story when you get to ISK velocity, you want to see how the spikes and the expansion events are closer together. We'll get there. Asteroid ore mined over time, August, so then September, October. So it looks like we now, throughout October, we saw a dip in mining that happened predominantly. It looks like it actually happened kind of across the board because, like, obviously high sec went down, but it looks like low sec or null sec went down by more. I suspect that a lot of this has to do with the event, right? Like we had a Halloween event, and so that always pushes activity. We haven't had an event in a long time. Oh, I'm also looking at the wrong calendar year or the wrong month. Let's go back. All right, I'm dumb. Here we go. Never mind. Correction. Mining's up. But if you can see here, so where was that dip that we were just looking at? Was that September? What was I just looking at? There it is. So it's like August. Let's see what happened from there. August. Oh, yeah. So that's the dip. And then it came back up. You can see that there's basically as much recovery in high sec. It's effectively the same as before the collapse. It's a little bit lower. And it looks like that little bit lower maybe in high sec. Again, I suspect it's because a lot of people who are playing EVE, or who would be just spending their time mining or whatever, are doing the event instead. Loyalty points only count LP from missions. Okay. Yeah, asteroid mine via region. We have Delve at 3.5 with Metropolis at just over 3. Here we have Delve at 4 with the Metropolis being below 3. So what we're seeing here is a big drop off in Delve and then slightly more asteroid ore in high sec. Again, this could be some of the event. But and ironically, the ore asteroid, I wonder if the Chthonic Qatar from the event sites count as asteroid ore. Spoiler alert, don't mine Chthonic Qatar if you want money. Like, that's not worth money. But I think this is a good sign that the goons went to war. That's as much as that means. Gas over time, we're seeing a continued... Yeah, gas over time, we're seeing a continued drift up. It fell back down at the beginning of October, again, probably because a lot of the gas suffers end up switching over to doing the events, and then when people get bored of the events, they switch back. So that would be my guess. If you notice, we haven't had a dip and a recovery like that since May, and we haven't had an event in a while. So that tracks. We can see that the majority of the fluctuations of gas, the vast, vast majority of it, is the wormhole gas that's being mined, or not mined. Gas volume by region. We got Aridia Lone Trek Placid versus Aridia Low Trek Placid. 35 million for Aridia. Just under 35 million for Aridia there. So it's a little bit down. But same relative distribution. Ice Mine went ticked up just a little bit, but still not as much as it was before. That uptick looks like it's the majority of it is in high sec. Again, we see people like, so this event was kind of lackluster and lasted a long time. So I wonder if these dips and then recovery and a lot of these PvE activities come straight from the fact that, like, people go and do the event, but then they need to do something else. And so they do other activities, probably in high sec. So that's why we see these, like, increase in mining done in high sec and all that, and gas and wormholes as the event kind of wears on. That's my guess. I don't know. The Forge Metropolis every shore for ice. The Forge Metropolis every shore, so that's good. Dominion. Yeah, I think that's all going to just basically be the same. Next, Moon Ore. Mined over time. Flat. I think that a lot of people didn't even complete the reward track. I think a lot of people looked at it and, like, dabbled with it and then noped out. There were a few people that, like, committed to it, but everyone I know, like, didn't. I don't know of anybody who actually finished the reward track. I'll put it that way. A lot of people made it, like, part of the way through. A lot of people did some sites for a little while. A lot of people were complaining that the rewards weren't good, and I suspect that they were not looting all of the boxes, all of the wrecks. Either way, Moon Ore is flat, going steady, with the vast majority of ore. Veil of the Silent with 6 billion. Way different than before. We see Veil of the Silent increasing. Gosh, hold on. Oh, no, it was number 2. Never mind. I'm dumb. So it went from 4 billion to almost 6 billion. That's like a 50% increase in Moon Ore mining, which is crazy because you got to think the largest one just had a 50% increase. And yet when we look at the charts, there's no measure of that. So this seems to imply to me, we could double check a few things. 3 billion for the next 4. Yeah, so this one that was over 4 billion is now at 3 billion. This one that was almost to 4 billion is now below 3 billion. So what we're seeing is, oh, well, no, sorry, Veil of the Silent went up. So this one that is over 4 billion went to 3 billion. So Domain lost a quarter of its stuff, and Delve lost about a quarter of its stuff, and Veil went way up. Veil of the Silent has topped the charts on a lot of things. I'm assuming that's where the war is happening. All right. Indices, imports and exports. Number 1 is Lone Trek. Veil is Frat. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. Yeah, that tracks. Now, what's interesting is that the Veil of the Silent, let's see, 47 and 31. Uh, 34 and 27. So both of them are up by about a third as well. Where the Forge is at 539, 456, 615, 476. So a lot up on exports from the Forge, a little bit up on imports. This implies to me that a lot of people, probably this is the War Machine purchasing a lot of stuff out of Jita 44 and moving it elsewhere. So where's the fighting happening? Because we have, hold on, Lone Trek. Is Lone Trek it? No, I think my brain just broke. Man, you null suckers. All right, 321, 334, 352, 380. So Lone Trek went up It went up in both, but it's higher up on the track because other things went changed more. Domain, which is way lower down. Wait, hold on. Where is domain? Fighting was in Pureblind. What? Hold on. Am I taking great man? I'm going to try one more time. Declan, Detroit. Domain. Holy shit. Okay, it's at the bottom. Wow. Okay, so domain went from 165, 185 to 196, 186. So a ton of additional exports with no additional imports. Again, nullsec is likely buying stuff out of the Amar market and using it to supply the war machine. The major fighting has been in Pureblind. So let's see what the effect of that is. Pureblind has seen 43.55 when it was 47.48. So additional imports coming in. Sorry, additional exports going out. Maybe people evacing stuff. So the weird thing about this chart, is that it's in order of exports over imports. So like you can go from the top of the list to the bottom of the list without your numbers changing very much, just because like the difference between your imports and exports happens to go up versus everyone else's, right? So that's why this chart is the way it is. Isks and faucets. Commodities. We have 60 trillion in commodities in October. Up from 40%. So 50% increase in commodities. We call this the event effect. Bounty prizes go from 32 to 38. So ratting is up. Main bank auto pet. Oh, wait. Bounty prizes also include pirates, the Crimson Harvest sites if you're fighting the Blood Raider side. So let's check it. Auto payments. Auto payments is how I can tell whether or not it's ratting, like nullsec ratting versus other things. So, auto payments goes from 16 to 17. So yeah, there's definitely an increase in ratting as well. Just standard ratting. Reward payout Triglavian invasions. 14 to 16. So yeah, that tracks with the increased stuff that we saw otherwise. So much as incursions go from 12 to 10. Again, probably incursion runners are the kind of people that would quickly go do the event instead. Agent mission rewards go from 3.1 to 3.5. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of increased, little signs here and there of overall increased activity this month, which is pretty cool. I assume it's because people are prepared for and getting excited for the expansion. The Northwestern regions will look hilarious in next month's MER. Yeah. Oh, there's a bug this month in incursions where sites would not progress. That would help too. That would do that too. Pirate fobs, which are now going to be called outposts, go from 2.1 to 2.1. Nailed it. Insurance goes from 3.9. Sorry. goes from 2.9 to 3.7. With the people buying insurance going from 961 to 1.2. So I wonder what would cause the amount of insurance being bought and paid for increasing by a third. Who's insuring their ship? Every line member of the war, if they know what's good for them and they're being handed a T1 ship. That's who. So this month we have, so it went House of Records, Federal Intelligence Office, Ministry of Internal Order, and then Republic Security Services. So it goes Caldari, Gallente, Mimitar, Amar, Mimitar. Caldari, Amar, no, Gallente, Caldari, Amar, Mimitar. So hold on. The House of Records did one. House of Records and Federal Intelligence Office basically tied for 1.8. When before Federal Intelligence Office was down by 100 billion. This is the payouts for the home fronts. So this is indicating that like we still see that Republic Security Services, which is Mimitar, are the lowest of them all by about almost a third lower than the top three, I should say. But it looks actually like Federal Intelligence Office, House of Records, and Ministry of Internal Order, they're all within 0.1 of each other. So that's 100 billion ISK. Which is, I mean, honestly, given the fact that each area of space has different sites, therefore you would be concerned that like some races might be considered easier to run than other races. That's a pretty good divide between the different things. Project Discovery goes from 1.1 to 1.2. Redeemed ISK tokens. Not usually a big thing. 68 to 125. Is there anything from redeemed ISK tokens? Are those just from rating ESSs? Yeah. And of course, let's look at transaction taxes, LP store, broker's fee, Hypernet relay tax. Ooh, that's an interesting stat. Let's look at that. Hypernet relay tax went from -3, so 3 trillion to 3.4 trillion. So 10% increase, over 10% increase in Hypernet use. We are seeing about a 10, that sounds about right, about a 10% increase almost across the board this month, which if I remember correctly, the last couple of months have been pretty slick good too. And we still aren't even at the expansion yet, so I'm pretty excited. All right. So here we can see July, August, September, no events anywhere in that time. Beginning of October, event, about 10% more players. Yeah, that sounds right. Event, see this change? So this spike in the Overseer's personal effects, that is people running the Blood Raider side. And these miscellaneous is people turning in the corpses. Now, what's interesting about that is that the corpses are a two-step process. So there are probably a lot of people that are just banking them for later. But you can see that there's about half as much, about as much gets is being made in both sides of the site. However, I would assume that more of the corpses haven't been turned in. So all I know is that doing the Tetramon side was way more lucrative for me. Last October, we see the event, and you can see this spike here. Look at how much higher the spike is this year versus last year. So that tells me that, like, even though there was a lot of people giving Yes, the population has been up recently too. This is telling me that even though the event itself was not like widely like received as being extremely great because it was basically the same as last year, it doesn't matter because like we were so starved for content that people did it almost half again as much as they did before. So that's cool. ISK and faucets, it sinks and faucets over time. So there's that commodity spike again. We can compare it to the commodity spike from last year. Much bigger spike. But again, like one of the things that I've noticed is that we've actually, at the same time that CCP has stopped paying as much attention to events as we used to know them, there's a lot of newer players that are interested in that exact kind of content. So we're seeing about the same baseline for things like commodities, but the spikes have been bigger all year. Triglavian invasions have a little bit of an uptake. Sanchez incursions, you can see that dip when Sanchez incursions weren't working correctly, probably. Brokers freeze are stable. LP store is actually down a tiny bit. Skills, whatever, transaction tax is steady. Any bad cook? What? Oh, any bad cook is very successful in cooking for starving clients. It's true. I'm very, Winter Nexus is going to be a lot of fun, guys. Money supply. Money supply continues to go up and continues to go up mostly on characters, not on corporations. This is good. Last month, it was at 151, sorry, 1.5 quadrillion? Now it's at 1.56, so we've gained 50 trillion ISK worth of, the economy has added 50 trillion ISK. So, that's a thing. Velocity of the ISK continues to be at its new lower level. Now, an interesting theory was proposed to me earlier today, I think it was. Somebody mentioned it. I think it was in a comment. That the chances are that this velocity of ISK is down because the rich players left the game, right? What we saw, especially during scarcity, is a lot of the, like, prior to scarcity, the idea of, like, the veterans were, like, heralded as being the saviors of EVE Online. But throughout scarcity, EVE became increasingly caustic, increasingly hostile to individuals that have, beaten the game, that have so much wealth, Titan caches and all that kind of stuff. The more wealth you had, the more you were established in the game during scarcity, the more scarcity hurt you. So a lot of people quit the game during that time, and a lot of experienced players quit the game during that time, and a lot of them have been replaced by newer players. Newer players buy and sell smaller things. Velocity goes down, but activity goes up, which is very consistent with what we've seen. Ganking miners increases ISK velocity. It's true. Yeah, miners being ganked actually increases ISK velocity. Remember, any market transaction, basically, any market transaction, contract transaction, or somebody just handing somebody ISK, those are what causes velocity of ISK changes, right? So if I just have my hauler, if I have my miner, and I go and mine rocks, and I turn those rocks into minerals, and then I turn those minerals into a ship, and then I hop in that ship and I get blown up. At no point did I contribute to the velocity of ISK in that equation, right? However, if I get my mining ship destroyed and I have to go buy a new one, then when I purchase a new one from the market, that ISK is being transferred from my account to their account. That's velocity of ISK. Also, dreads are being spammed out again, which is true. But again, if they're not being sold, right? Back before scarcity, the thing is that it wasn't just that dreads and titans and all these things were being cranked out. It's that they were being sold. They're being purchased. They're being built to be sold. You were able to buy these things very, very easily in a lot of different places, right? Whereas now, a lot of the dreads are being built to be used, right? And so there's possibly a lot less actual ISK velocity coming from the buying and selling of, the manufacturing of these dreads and the supers and all that stuff that is being happening now, because they're not being sold on the open market like they were back in more prosperous days. Correct. That's right. ISK velocity has to do with how many times the ISK has exchanged hands over the last 30 days, right? So by having an ISK velocity of about 50%, that means about half the ISK that is currently in the market is flowing around. Or for every 2 ISK that's currently accounted for, 1 ISK was traded. And if I buy something, if I sell something for ISK, and then I turn around and buy something with that ISK is counted twice, right? Because it's transferred to me, and then I transfer it to it. That's how you would get a higher than 1 ISK velocity. But a lot of people, not ever, the more ISK is being hoarded and not traded around to purchase things, the lower the velocity of ISK. Yeah, velocity of ISK goes down with vertical integration. That's true. All right. Mineral index continues to be staggeringly high. Everything else is kind of even. Oh, wait, hold on. We're dealing with last month at that point. The velocity is not changed there either. So we're fine. We're fine. We're still fine. Mineral price index has actually gone down. Mineral price index is dropping. Primary producer index is dropping. Secondary producer has gone up. Remember, these are very, very thin wedges. So basically, the mineral price index has been steadily dropping most of this the second half of this year, right? Because it's 2000. Yeah. Yeah. So this line represents the beginning of the year. So it went up, and then midway through August, it's been dropping since. And in the exact opposite way, secondary producer dropped and then has been recovering. Primary producer went up and then went back down. There we go. Yeah, so the delta. Man, somebody's going to have to tell me what the delta means on this. I can't remember what delta 8% means. I'm not even going to pretend to know. I just like Planetary Interactions' continued track record for disappointing as a passive income investment. Well, I usually get about 10 million per day doing robotics. Consumer price index. Do we see any big drops this month? Nothing really noteworthy. There's a couple of ups. Hold on, what are these? Tech 2 ships. And that Tech 1 modules? No. Tech 1 ships and Tech 2 ships are up. Everything else is pretty flat. It's usually the change, I agree. But, like, I feel like this change is bigger than this change. And smaller than this change. So I have no idea where these percentages come from. Oh, from the previous month. I still... Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got nothing. I'm not going to pretend to know. Somebody smart knows. Go talk to Oz. Okay, low-end minerals and high-end minerals. Low-end mineral both are down this month. High-end minerals have been going up quite a bit, but now have gone back down. I'm assuming, again, this is one of those, like, war effects things, as people are building things versus destroying things versus trading things. And so it looks like a lot of that dip, most of the dip comes from the high-end minerals with a continued dropping of low-end minerals. Primary producer index. What's this big stripe? Raw moon materials. Drop in that. Little drops across the board. Advanced moon materials is up a little bit. And commodities are down a little bit, which is pretty funny because commodities are usually bought from NBC buy orders. Salone, yes, you do have to buy the BPO, but ironically enough, you're probably going to be buying that, unless you're buying the BPO already researched, you're buying it from an NPC, so it actually is an ISK sync. But I think that that would still be counted. Secondary producer index. Salvage materials are a little bit up. Accessories are way up. Man, the accessories market is so weird. And commodities are still down. ESS figures per region. I still kind of can't bring myself to care too much about this stuff, although that's a lot of money being taken from Fountain. Wow. Oh, that's reserve. No, we're looking at, sorry, reserve bank, that's milking. Never mind. We're talking about main bank. Look at how much more they still have in reserve banks. The Deathless is the future. Branch had the most main bank thefts this month. What was it like last month? Branch. Yeah, okay. That tracks. And Fountain. We're seeing a lot of the same players. How do these maps compare? Last month's, this month's. Corporate would like to find you to find the difference between these pictures. Actually, it does look like there's quite a bit more like down here area. Which that's Delve, right? Did you ever look into Excel EVE Online? I've been trying to see active market orders. We do have some people that have played with it in our Discord. I haven't played with it much, but you can also hop in and see if you can find somebody. But the main person to talk to when it comes to the EVE Excel stuff is Oz. Reserve bank thefts. So all of the darker ones are bank milking, which means basically people are getting the keys for these reserve banks in low sec, and then usually selling them to the various nullsec empires who can then extract the ISK out themselves. It is significantly safer than trying to rob it, which is probably why we see so much more milking than robbing. They're also kind of done at a pretty regular rate. That's why we see so many of the same number. Blue loot. Okay, well, yeah, that one's always confusing. But this one I like. Wormhole trade summary. So we went from class 5 at 12 with class 6 at 5 to 13 and 5, 1.5 and 0.8. Hold on. So we actually lost ISK, quite a bit of ISK from class 4 and a little bit from class 3 with a slight increase in class 5. So, yeah, that's from Blue Loot. That's people running the sites. And then, of course, gas should be down a little bit across the board, right? So class 3 and class 5 were the biggest before at 0.6 and 0.5. We have 0.6 and 0.6. So actually, there's more gas being mined in class 5s, but there's none being mined in what? How does negative gas get mined? I guess that's gas being brought in. Is that gas being brought in? Yeah, I know what that chart means. I just don't know how to break it down or explain it or get any value out of it. So I generally don't even try. But if it was exported, you would think exporting would make a bigger number, would make a positive number. In order for it to be, it would have to be an import of gas, which is kind of weird. Well, you know what it is? No, you know what it is? I figured it out. People are going from their C2 into a C3, mining the C3, and then bringing it back to the C2, causing the C3 to have an export and the C2 to have an import. That's my guess. That's what's happening here. I'm guessing that the people are living in C5, or sorry, are living in C2s and C4s, which checks out. But they're mining in C3s and C5s, which also checks out. That's my interpretation of that. At least that was last month's. This is month's, same thing. Same thing. And then materials, we went from 0.7, 0.6, 0.7 to 0.6, 0.6 to 0.4. So yeah, the materials are down pretty much across the board. Hold on, is any of them up? 0.3, 0.3. Yes. Lower class wormholes materials are up. Higher class are down. I'm going to go on a limb and say that part of this might be because of Zarzak and like the increased interest in wormhole data and relic sites, and therefore increased interest in wormhole sites overall. Kind of a shot in the dark. Not 100% sure. But, yeah, this is minerals being exported. So that's people bringing stuff out of their wormhole. Yeah, hard to say. Or materials, sorry, not minerals. Largest battle in Galand Gringham Warzone. Looks like it happened in the west this time. That would probably be closer to... Hold on a second. How wide do I need to make it for the map to show up? There it is. So it could have been Vlilarir, Aldernette, Evalin, Ashen. I don't know if there what was the big fight this month, but yeah, it's over here. Yeah, the faction warfare charts are always kind of silly because they blow out all of the other data, right? So much that they actually skew what things look like. Either way. Meanwhile, Minmatar and Amarr, there's been a lot of violence in Minmatar space. Oh yeah, so that's a Caldari system. I don't know. Aldernate could be true. Hey Vicky. And then largest battles in the solar system. Let's see. Definitely the north has heated up. You can see like this was last month and this is this month. So that's a lot more bigger fights happening in that area. And then this area has quieted down, as you can see. But this is biggest battle, not like numbers of death or anything like that. All right, and that's it. That's the MER for October. I am looking forward to seeing November's as you know, we have the expansion coming out, we have the wars effect going on. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. So, but that's it for this month. If you're watching live, hang tight. If not, then I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming and watching. And please, in the comments below, explain what I got wrong. I am not an economist, and I've just, I look at the economic report every month. So let me know what I got wrong, why I'm dumb, what I got right, you know, what might be particularly clever. I need to know for my own sake, if not for everybody else's. So please put that down below. But otherwise, either way, thank you so much. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so that way you can get more. But I am an Ashrathi. Thank you to all of these people scrolling down below. And until next time, I'll see you in space. Yay! Dude, okay, Vicky. I forgot about that. So, okay, guys, we probably won't be able to do this today because we have so much stuff to cover. And I have that raid thing later this week. But we are going to... No! Absolutely not, lazy one. Absolutely not. You want my account banned? Because that's how you get your account banned. Like they said, like, if you share anything, your entire EVE account can get banned. So, no. They added Fall Guys. They added Fall Guys to Final Fantasy XIV. And I haven't actually had a chance to play with it yet. I've been doing other things and whatnot. And my controller is broken. I need to get a new controller. Like the plug doesn't work quite right. But my finances are still kind of totally screwed. You know, I get support from you guys, which is great. And it's enough to take care of things, but it's not enough to replace controllers willy-nilly. But who knows? Maybe when the Raid Shadow Legends money comes in. But I came back from doing a long break doing faction warfare. Things have changed a lot. Yeah, biggest, I have a video just for you. Just buy a game controller BPO, easy. Yeah. Those are proprietary. I'm tempted to like pop this thing open because it's clear like it's just a matter of the connector here. Because like it basically disconnects a lot. I'll swear a lot. I'm sure. Now the funny thing about the Fall Guys for Final Fantasy XIV is that the net code in Final Fantasy XIV is very particular. To the point where like you see yourself a little bit further ahead than everybody else. This is normally fine. And, you know, they have ways of dealing with this when it comes to, like, AoEs and stuff like that. Fall Guys is a new and particularly fun challenge for the netcode. You know, people, like, I've been watching a lot of stuff on the Reddit about people being knocked when they're not supposed to. One dude got up and thought he was number one, but then the other guy just like launched over and got the win like a second later, but obviously that meant that he was ahead. It's but no, I think it's really cool I mean, like that's how you do a cross promotion, right? It's like, and now you can play Fall Guys with your Final Fantasy character. That's how we do cross promotion. We need more of that level of effort put into a cross promotion. If you're going to do one, do it right. That said, I think that the cross promotion for Doctor Who is absolutely fantastic. The content for it was wonderful. And my only sadness about the content from Doctor Who was that it was over. All right. Let's see how much iceberg we can do in about an hour. Oh, wait. 2 hours. Here we go. I've had my my filter be blue because we're going into the iceberg. Okay. When we last left our intrepid heroes, we'd completed the top surface level of the stuff. There was some confusion and stuff. It goes away until the 31st? Or it goes away on the 31st of December, so it is a temporary thing? Well, so the difference for today is that I'm not even going to try to complete the entire iceberg. What we're going to do is we're going to do layer 2, okay? So we're going to do this area here. The shallow waters, okay? So this is all stuff that is things that are generally... That's disappointing. Never mind. They should keep it as a permanent thing. So everything in this section is things that are... They have to be known in universe. At least be aware of its existence. At least some people. Or it needs to be something that we know very well. Right? Even if it's not in-game, in-universe knowledge. Now that I'm saying this, maybe the War of a Million Lies should go lower, but the War of a Million Lies is very confirmed. Below this is a lot more speculative. So let's just jump into this. Number 1, the encrypted Svarog Semiosis console. So if you go into the Abyss, you can, if you do tier 5, you can get the option, or you can sometimes get the shipyard, which is, instead of getting 3 rooms like you would normally do, you get 1 room that's filled with a ton of Leshaks, and there's this like cache that's like 40-50 kilometers away, and there's a gate that's already open. So you can always just go straight through the gate if you want to. But if you dare the challenge and blow up the cache and grab it, you will get not only your normal loot, but you'll also get a bunch of the data streams, which is how we have their records, and also semiosis consoles. Now, when the Invasions was starting, and throughout Invasions, we would intercept messages from the Triglavians via these semiosis consoles. Any player that had a semiosis console of the correct type, because there's Velez, Perun, and Svarog, anyone who had the correct types, when a message went out, received an Eve mail with the message. And that's where we got a lot of the early reports and other stuff like that from what was going on with Invasions. So, those are the normal semiosis consoles. Now, when Upwell was, or when the event was coming out, I think it was Conscious Interruption, but basically it was Edencom developing the Edencom ships, right? And they were under attack from the rogue drones and whatnot. And Triglavian aligned rogue drones. One of the things, I believe it was then, that dropped was an encrypted Svarog semiosis console, which is this thing. This device is clearly a version of the semiosis conduction consoles found in certain locations within Abyssal Dead Space, but appears to be secured with additional layers of formidable encryption. Like other Semiosis consoles, this self-contained unit combines a number of sophisticated interfaces with internal processing and storage capacity generally geared towards symbolic or conceptual modeling. The device provides for communication of constructed models either through its built-in holographic or nanomimetic functions, or via a variety of outputs if these are connected to the appropriate network. The device almost certainly incorporates quantum entanglement communication technology. This particular console displays the symbol of Svarog clade when connected to the correct power supply format, but the encryption makes it doubtful that anything else of meaningful value could be derived from the device. Concord would no doubt prefer this device be handed over to them, but the curious could probably keep it and carefully monitor it. It remains to be seen what the point would be given the encryption layers, and the risks may be very high. So, a special console with the Triglav for Svarog was discovered. However, we have never received a message from it. So we do not know what, if anything, it will mean. However, we have theories, but I think that we'll get to those theories a little bit later in the iceberg. Next, subcranial nanocontrollers. So these are a little device that came out during a Christmas event. Like around the holidays, they like to put out a lot of little Easter egg items or lore items or whatever. And we got these subcranial nanocontrollers. Now, this was tied to a bunch of stuff back in, I think, 2018. And you'll see subcranial nanocontrollers come up over and over again. One of the most blatant examples is that subcranial nanocontrollers, I believe, are critical to the use of expert systems, right? So this is kind of weird, suspicious stuff. Now, there is a earlier version called transcranial microcontrollers, which are created by the Lidai Corporation, by the Ishikone Corporation, that are used as implants in the brain to allow you to interface with like drones and other stuff like that. So this is kind of like them, but they're miniaturized. But there's a conspiracy involved with these. The subcranial nanocontroller is an advanced component from the Lidai intended for use of biomechanical and neurocybernetic implants in similar fashion to the older transcranial controller technology owned and licensed by Ishikone. Implants using subcranial nanocontrollers are being marketed as cheaper, more flexible, and less intrusive. Lidai is believed to have made some key breakthroughs in its development of technology after acquiring medical research and technology in the course of asset recovery operations carried out by Lidai Protection Services. Put a pin in that. It is believed that the Khana Kingdom and Tashmurkon family is eager to incorporate the new technology in a more advanced, efficient, pervasive slave-controlled devices with the aim of being elimination of the Vitok method of enforcing slavery obedience. Many believe the Vitok method is fairly vulnerable to chemical and biological subversion vectors, and several attacks using Insurum and Deathglow to provoke slave uprisings have reinforced this view within the Amar Empire. The future of subcranial nanocontroller technology and Lidai's profit margins looks bright as a consequence. Okay, so a few things. First of all, Lidai is part of the partnership called PKN Interstellar, which is Lidai, Nuagahuvi, and NOH. Right? CBD. One of them. Hold on. Spoilers. Going to my lore Notion page. It's not a faction, it's an organization. PKN Interstellar. Lidai, CBD, and NOH. Yeah. So this group was founded in 2008, YC120, 11, 15. Actually, I don't even think it was... No, this wasn't their founding. This is when they first started cooperating together. They mostly worked on the HyperNet and the revamp of the G244 station. Also, I like to say that this group is the most kind of shady of them all, with Lidai being quite a bit shady themselves, like on their own right? Lidai is always trying to compete with Ishikone and some other people. They kind of have little brother syndrome. And this is a great example of this, where it would seem that Ishikone had built these transcranial microcontrollers. And then LiDi. So in 2018, I think we covered this earlier, so I'm just going to breeze over this a little bit. In 2018, the Caldari took Intaki from the Gallente in faction warfare. During this time of occupation, LiDi performed asset recovery operations on various planets, as well as, or on Planet 5 and Planet 4, I think, as well as dumping toxic waste on a different planet. Now, as they were looting this stuff and getting it out, there was accusations that they were removing religious artifacts and medical equipment. Now, those two things are very important and tied together when it comes to the Intaki, because the Intaki believe in reincarnation, and they actually have special devices that allow them to transfer their consciousness from an adult to a child, and that is where they have their reborn. The people that are reborn, and their religious group or their high religious people are said to be able to do this without the technology. So the Intaki have this weird technology that allows them to do these transfers of consciousness. It just so happens that just like 3 months after LiDi raids Intaki for supplies, they put out a patent for the subcranial nanocontroller with the accusation, or with the idea that they were going to sell it to the Khana Kingdom and Tashmerkon family. Now, the Khana Kingdom and Tashmerkon actually ended up reneging on the deal. They really didn't get into it, but doesn't matter. The subcranial nanocontrollers have now been a big hit. LiDi have used it, again, like I said, in their expert systems. And we'll see this a lot, and we'll see it in the later on today, too, where these subcranial nanocontrollers just keep coming up. The Guristas raided a bunch of them. A bunch of them were stolen. Caches have been found. There's been various accusations about their implications and usage. We'll get to that in a second. Next, the Ghost Ship. Okay, so in 2009, YC111, LiDi, oh shit, there's that name again, announces a wormhole space expedition. Arkirio. Following the news that Creodrone has possibly discovered intelligent life on the uncharted regions of space, this is shortly after the wormholes opened up, okay? LiDi Corporation, Creodrone. So Creodrone sends a lady out in a Helios, who I think disappears. And so then LiDi Corporation has just announced their own full-scale expedition, which will commence shortly. At an emergency conference call with the corporate stakeholders, Alakoni Ishanoya, LiDi CEO, says, today's event brings great hope to New Eden. Our colleagues at Creodrone has uncovered magnificent opportunities for all, and therefore we are proud to announce our first expedition into wormhole space. According to the press release, the core of the LiDi expedition force will comprise of a Raven-class battleship retrofitted as a scientific laboratory, 3 Drake-class battlecruisers, and a number of small escort craft. Although no announcement was made by LiDi as to the discovery of an actual stable wormhole, it can safely be presumed that they have found one or intend to soon. The recent events have left stock market experts dumbfounded. A source of Caldari Fund Unlimited said, quote, in the current conditions, forecasting stock performance can be compared to flipping a coin. There's just too many unknown variables. Personally, I think that once everything started scrambling for so-called wormhole space, LiDi just didn't have a choice but to follow, to compete. So in 2009, this Raven enters into wormhole space and is never seen from again. Wait, hold on, incorrect, correction. It is seen from again in 2020. 11 years later, Sasio the Forge. This afternoon, a seemingly undamaged Raven-class battleship bearing the LiDi logo emerged from wormholes near Sasio near the Sugavesta Corporation station in orbit of Moon 20 Sasios 8. According to sources on board the Sugavesta HQ station, security personnel led by Nolen, nope, that's a name, took the derelict ship into custody and towed it into the station after it failed to respond to repeated communication attempts. Reports indicate that the ship appears to be adrift without power. LiDi CEO Alakoni Ishanoya released a statement calling for Suvi to return the battleship and any crew to Lidai's possession. Quote, if witness reports are accurate, the Raven matches the description of the LDSS Arkyrio Promise, a flagship of our wormhole expedition that went missing nearly a decade ago. Our single Raven retrofitted to function as a laboratory hardly constitutes a threat, even to the peace and order unit. End quote. Among the missing were nearly 6,000 employees of the research vessel and its escorts. While Suvi has declined to release details about the ship or its potential presence of crew, they did release a brief statement reading in part as, quote, as the vessel in question qualifies as salvage under applicable state law, Quzxpon Corporation will retain custody of the vessel and maintain a primary interest in its disposition. In a move emphasizing ongoing political realignments in the state, Kalikota Corporation, nominally Lidai's fellow Patriot Bloc member, quickly released a statement in support of Suvi's position. The move by KK suggesting that Lidai would have no easy time of it should they choose to escalate the dispute to the Caldari Business Tribunal or the Chief Executive Panel. Additionally, the current summit meeting of the CEP is considering the critical issues of megacorporation territorial concessions, corporate security forces jurisdiction, and the current status of the inner circle negotiations on the Emergency War Power Acts of YC110 faction warfare stuff. In this context, Lidai making too much of a relatively minor salvage suit would risk losing face before other megacorps. Thank you so much, Varad, for that gifted membership to Aikawarazu Chan. Congratulations. Yeah. So then, so this is mysterious, right? There's this empty, supposedly empty ship that was Lidai's ship, but now Suvi has gained possession of it, and they're claiming salvage rights. Okay? Then in a month and 6 days later, we see CBD Gazette notes, quote, legal hiatus in case of LDSS Arkyro's Paramus, reports of strange developments in Lidai Quzxpon dispute. So here's the thing. So now there's a conflict between the two, right? But here's the thing. If the ship is manned, if there's crew left alive, then it's not salvage, and it belongs to Lidai. If there is no record or no sign of any crew, then it is salvage and should belong to Quzxpon. That's kind of where we're setting up right now. Chat should show up. It's just, chat is so delayed. Did I turn off chat? Did I? Hold on a second. Oh. Nope, that's the wrong one. No, it's right there, chat. I don't, YouTube is weird. It should be showing up. Okay. So. Huh. Look, man, I know that the YouTube chat stuff is sometimes wonky. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix something. take this opportunity to like the stream if you haven't. Weird. Hold on a second. Oh yeah. When I go to that widget, it's just a blank page. That's not my fault. I'm going to blame somewhere between YouTube and Streamlabs. All right. Yeah. All right, so where does this go from here? Four days later, right? Yeah, 4 days later, we get an update. And that update says, Lidai refuses comment on Timo raid. That's not the same one. LDSS Arikio's promise situation unclear as Lidai Suvi bring in Kirkin risk control specialists. Capsuleer speculation mounts. Now, Kirkinen risk control is a very interesting group of people. They basically deal with two types of threats. Or they deal with wormhole space and they deal with artificial intelligence. So that's suspicious that Kirkland risk control was brought in. But what's even more suspicious is this is the last we hear about this ship. As far as I know, they never mention it again. They bring in Kirkland risk control, and it never goes into the news ever again. It just disappears. That's the ghost ship. Next, the Ugali situation. It is actually related. Now, if you want more information about the Ugali situation, I actually have a YouTube video out called The Ugali Situation, which I made a year ago, where I talk about this whole thing if you want more information. But the short of it is, I posted this thing. No, hold on. Oh. Yeah. So I wrote this thing back in the day called "To the Residents of Intaki and Ugali System." So this covers up a couple things. It covers a couple things. First of all, this was that time that Lidai controlled was raiding Intaki. So Lidai Protective Services were accused of using aerial denial munitions. They raided monasteries and medical facilities. They bribed the assembly to allow them to leave with their plunder. That's when they were stealing the technology behind the subcranial nanocontrollers. Cool. Meanwhile, in addition, directly from the Galactic Hour, quote, Concord's Directive Department for Enforcement and Restrictions on Artificial Intelligence and Life, DERAIL, has reported the arrest of, quote, several hundred conspirators in an alleged plot to develop illegal AIs in raids across the Ugali system. And then the next report saying derail seizures in Ugali system rumored to include ancient technology and illegal precursor artifacts. So now we have an artificial intelligence in Ugalis that is related to precursor artifacts that is, hey, Lorelei, was your ears burning? Yeah, so somebody had the wherewithal to start shooting a laser at one of the moons in Ugalis and apparently has uncovered a bunch of stuff. And the entire system goes into lockdown. And this lasts to the present day, more or less. So, this was originally posted in 2021, so YC123. And so since then, Yagalis has switched sides a couple of times. And basically, we've seen massive arrests by Derail. And furthermore, they have brought in Sorrow and Calican Risk Control. Right? See? So, and what we see is it has been reported that state actors are either conducting... So, hold on. I believe it is possible that something truly terrible may be happening that may represent a threat to us Empyreans on a level... This is just me writing. I'm quoting myself, so... God, Ash is so snarky. But they are now just a shadow, blah, blah, blah. Artificial intelligence represents... are just a shadow of the potential, a truly unshackled artificial... Oh, I see. The former dominant species may very well make... I'm referring to humans there. May very well make their own worst enemy in the rogue drones, but they are just a shadow of the potential of the truly unshackled artificial intelligence represents to everyone, even those protected through cloning technology. It has been reported that state actors are either conducting these experiments or protecting them. Either way, it says, quote, in related news, the Lidai Protection Services 203rd Combined Asset Protection Regiment has arrived in Yagalis to carry out asset reclamation operations, which is exactly what they did in Intaki, while the system is under Caldari militia occupation. Lidai has been involved in some questionable things of late, including the mysterious ghost ship. Everything we know about Intaki, I feel like it's best to secure the system, and blah, blah, blah. This is my argument about taking over Intaki. Back when that was in the war zone. Given the... Yeah, so it seems related to all of this. It's also worth noting that Intaki and Yagalis are like 2 jumps away from each other. Yeah, yes, the Intaki crisis and all that stuff was 2018, 2019, like that lore chunk. So yeah, it's 2019. But I'm writing this in 2021. So, Yagalis is probably one of the most interesting mysteries that to me, in EVE right now, because it's set up so much for this upcoming shooter. You know, it ties into the Deathless, you know, the Precursor Crisis. It could be Triglavian AI. It could be Talakan AI. It could be Yanyong AI. It could be totally fucking bullshit. It's... Yagalis has been set up by CCP as being like, when all this stuff goes down, the big twist, the reveal, the thing that like opens back up the drifters and the other, whatever that thing is, it seems like it will happen in Yagalis. The Sakuni worked with the Fiend. Hold on. Why did I pull this one up? Oh. Derail forces arrests hundreds on charges of conspiracy to develop AI. Ugali Placid, Concord Department of Enforcement on Restriction of Artificial Intelligence and Life, has reported the arrest of several hundred conspirators in an alleged plot to develop illegal AI in raids across the Ugali system. The majority of arrests were apparently carried out on board the Izochi Okami, a mobile submarine colony platform operating in the shadows of the Ugali's 6 storm planet oceans. Raids were also carried out elsewhere in Ugali 6 and other planets in station in the Ugali system. In related news, the Lidai Protection Services 203rd Combined Asset... That's what I read earlier. So yeah. That's great. Spending 5.5 years doing player world building probably helps. It's true. Yeah, and we have done timelines. My speed run of the lore is done in time chronological order. This one is specifically not in chronological order. We're jumping all over the place. All right, next. Sorry, Sakuni worked for the Fiend. We were still there. Okay, so who's Sakuni? Two of the last chronicles that we ever got, which you can also hear me read them, is Sine Wave Alpha and Sine Wave Omega. Sine Wave Alpha takes place the day before the Rite of Shethel Sin, where the holders of the Amarian Empire that failed to become the Emperor committed ritual suicide at Shatrath's Spire. Sine Wave Alpha takes place in the city near there. And then Sine Wave Omega is later, and it more relates to the development of the Alpha clones, okay? So one of the main characters is this guy named Sakuni. He shows up in both. He's this Mimitar dude who's clearly like an assassin, double agent character, okay? In the first story, Sakuni meets up with another person, this Sata Mochin, this Mochin fella who isn't a real dude, but is a guy pretending to be a Lidai operative, meets up with Sakuni, and they discuss things. Sakuni gets from him the information that while Concord's kind of aware of what they're doing when it comes to the researching of the Alpha clone technology, AG-12 doesn't have like a bead on them yet. And so in response to this, Sakuni assassinates himself and Mochin by blowing up the little, like they're in a booth in a restaurant. So he blows them both up to kill him. Sakuni had synchronized so he doesn't lose time, but Mochin had not. So Mochin wouldn't be able, or whoever this operative is, wouldn't be able to remember the events because he lost his that time. But it's also worth, so another person, Zoshin, was in the area in the restaurant, and so he saw the thing, and he is a sub-inquisitor for the Ministry of Internal Order. So, like, the second story is a lot about him working with Parvas Sarkovas, the chief executor or chief inquisitor of Satra City. So, in the story, excuse me, in the story, Zoshin comes to Sarkovas to report this information about this assassination and stuff, and they're kind of going back and forth about this stuff. And at a certain point, Sarkovas calls up his buddy. So he calls up Caldari Archive K. Now, Archive K is its own thing. I don't know if we covered it already. Did we cover it already? Yeah. Archive K was in the previous episode. Archive K is a secret branch of the Caldari House of Records. And so Sarkovas calls his buddy Tagamatsu in the Archive K section head for the Amar Caldari Diplomatic Intelligence Agency. But when he calls him up, a secretary picks up, and he gives his credentials as card player. So this Sarkovas fella, which, by the way, the conversation between Tagamatsu and Sarkovas shows that they have a history together, and that history involves a lot of shady stuff, potentially. Okay? For more information, that conversation is in Sine Wave Omega. So, here we can see that Zoshin reports the MIO office and reports to Sarkovas about Mochin and Sakuni, and reveals that Sakuni isn't dead, but reconnected to the delegation when they left the system after the Shethel Sin, ritual Shethel Sin. Sarkovas contacts Hava Tagametsu. She tells him Mochin jumped from Genelution facility to Tamo 5-5 Lidai station. So the reason why this is important is because this guy, Parvas Sarkovas, also known as Card Player, is now the head of Edencom Intelligence. And Havo Tagamatsu is head of a sub-branch of the Edencom Intelligence. They were both promoted. So we can see. Yeah. Sadar Colonel Parvos Sarkovas named Chief of Edencom Intelligence Directorate by Provost Marshal Valkenir. Now remember, Valkenir was put into position by Serdan Zerkosh, and then Sarkovas and Tagametsu. Tagametsu is given the Edencom Intelligence Division Cultural Intelligence Section. And these two people are currently the heads of Edencom Intelligence still. So, and then, Edencom Intelligence Director in contact with elements of Triglavian leadership. There's all these different weird ones. Sarkovas reportedly briefed Provost Marshal Valkenir in presence of a Mar Inner Circle delegate. So there's a lot of suspicion there. Yeah. So the whole point is that Edencom is a Marian plot, and this is a big piece of it. And obviously, more recently, we discovered that Amar was using Edencom as a method to spy on the other empires, including Caldari. And so, these Sarkovas and Tagametsu are definitely suspicious characters. Sister Taya Akira. So, Taya Akira is a special sister. She is she's the head of the group known as the Pharaohs-Athera. The Pharaohs-Athera are a splinter group of the Sisters of Eve, and they've done two things. One was that they've whistleblown two different things. The first thing that they accused was that the Concords, did we have it last time? Or do we have it this time? No. Is it not on here? I might need to go. Yep. It's way down here. The time-based experiment in the Triglavians. So the accusation is that the time-based experiment was an anti-drifter technology being tested. The other accusation was that alpha clones are developed by drifter tissue samples. So those are the two things that Taya Akira, or rather the Pharaohs-Athera, have given to us. However, we need to go back to sine wave alpha, or sine wave omega, and look at the assassination by Sakuni. And we'll touch on this a little bit in a little bit too. But okay, so remember, this is late in the year when the alpha clone technology was released. Actually, this was the event that released alpha clones to having battleships and battlecruisers, which was a rogue drone swarm. This was the second rogue drone swarm this year, which was really weird. And Delegate Zero confirmed to me in an interview like a few years ago that this rogue drone swarm was the first presence of Triglavian activity in known space confirmed. So, assuming that is correct, that's worth keeping in mind when you read this passage about the rogue drone. Ready? So Sakuni is going in with these two thugs that he's got with Anakori. So this dude named Anakori, which we'll talk about in a second. They come in, and what he does is he notices. He's going in to go assassinate Sister Latimus. Sister Latimus was the one who was running the Alpha Clone project, right? Whereas Taya Akira also ends up to be here. To say that, thermal imaging indicated the presence of Latimus and one other female on the top floor of the dwelling. Stay here, blah, blah, blah. To say that Latimus would be surprised was an understatement. She was actually collapsed in fright. I was a little disappointed that she definitely seen my face, so that's something. The other person was a real find, though. Sister Taya Akira. Well. What a pleasure it is to meet your acquaintance at last, blah, blah, blah. So, so he knows who Taya Akira is. She doesn't know who he is. He goes, come now, you know that things have gone beyond the law being your ally, my dear. Best you come with us. But before that, let's deal with Latimus. So he tries to capture, or he tries to get her to surrender. And he motions to Anakori's men to kill Latimus. So when Anakori's men drew his plasma pistol and reduced Latimus to char in one smooth motion, several things happened. The first was that Taya Akira screamed, turned, and stepped towards the window, which made me smile as I knew it didn't open. And it was made of a thin layer of cheap but very tough crystalline carbonite. The second thing that happened was my own camera drone network alerted me to rapidly approaching threat profile, and I threw myself back out of the room into what little cover I could find. The third was that both of my companions shouted, "Incoming!" as their rather less sophisticated camera drones were entirely neutralized by the new threat. This time, I had activated my trump card, a combination personal shield and cloaking device. What happened next astounded me, and is a matter for ongoing concern for all of us involved in the Ascension project. As far as my surviving camera drones could make out through the haze of electromagnetic jamming and information warfare, a drone the size of an atmospheric fighter craft took up a hovering position in front of the window in the room that I had just been in. Then it burned out a window frame, reducing my erstwhile accomplice into a pile of ash with a quick burst of laser fire, and grabbed Taya Akira with as much tenderness as possible for a rogue drone. Oh yes, this was definitely a rogue drone of some kind. Then it apparently scanned the hab, decided to burn Anakori's surviving man to a crisp through two intervening walls, and accelerated away with Akira in its grasp. Clearly, it had not seen through my cloak. And that is the last we heard from Taya Akira. Darkness Visible and Offspring Cephas. These are both related to Sine Wave Alpha and Sine Wave Omega. In Sine Wave Alpha, at the very end, Sakuni sends a message to Anakori saying, proceed with action phase of Offspring Cephas at your discretion. Initiate orientation phase of Darkness Visible as soon as possible. And then in Sine Wave Omega, he's bitching to himself. He says, I had a couple of Anakori's thugs with me. As far as they were concerned, this was all part of the planned strike against Concord. I certainly wasn't going to tell them more than I had told Anakori. He and his group had proved very useful in the last few years, even if our largest operation to date hadn't yielded optimal results. Anakori has insisted on carrying on with Darkness Visible even after the failure of Offspring Cephas. I allowed it, but suggested a more symbolic date for the strike. So, I'm not 100% sure what Offspring Cephas was. But Darkness Visible is something that's supposed to be happening shortly thereafter, right? Is this still live? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm live right now. So then, at the very end of the story, it jumps into the future again, because it's December 29th, YC119, and then it jumps to April 14th, YC120, so 4 months later. And Zerkosh and Ramel Zoshin are looking at a device that was in orbit above Concord. This thing is a city killer. It's basically a giant spike that drops down like a kinetic force, causes a big explosion, and then pieces open up and it disseminates antimatter, I think it is called. Or I think it does. Hold on. A very old, very dangerous and simple idea. It's called a black hammer. Well, that's what we call ours. The other empires have equally colorful names for their own versions. This pointy head of the weapon research, the pointy heads in weapons research would call it a covert approach planetary scale kinetic impactor. Marshal Zerkosh glanced at Zoshin and saw that he hadn't resolved the other's confusion. It's a planet killer. Well, not on its own. And it doesn't really kill planets, but drop a few on a temperate planet and you can be confident of wrecking the global ecosystem and killing an awful lot of people. The principle is not difficult to make. It's a big chunk of tungsten with a few ion impellers stuck on the back. The main problem is to make it indetectable from space defense nets, near asteroid search and destroy, and planetary interception batteries. That takes some skill and technology. It's not just a matter of painting them black anymore. Gravity wake detection is fine scale enough these days. You need equipment that will compensate locally and fool gravitational detection systems. Make it look like nothing bigger than a meteorite that'll burn up, or at least kill a cow in a field. Or at best, kill a cow in a field. So, and then he says that it's not... So yeah, it's basically just... it's a giant spike with rockets on it that you drive into a planet. And it does a ton of damage. So I believe that this was darkness visible. But I'm not 100% sure. Okay. Leopold in Vel'ash works for the Deathless. Okay, let's... Now we're starting to get exciting. This is Leopold in Vel'ash. Leopold in Vel'ash was, so, what, a little over, a year and a half, well, almost 2 years now, in Easter. We had a lady named Kagamitsu. Let's just watch this.
Concord has made a major breakthrough in its fight against a rising tide of smuggling, uncovering a major network of smuggler and mercenary bases across New Eden. Sources in the Directive Enforcement Department have indicated that Thucker and Caldari organized crime and mercenary groups have played a key role in building up this network. Concord has shared this information with all empires and is requesting the assistance of Capsuleers in disrupting this extensive web of hideouts and dead drop hacking sites.
Remember, this web, this network, he's talking about the Deathless network.
Smuggler hideouts are reported to be spread across New Eden, including a number of bases hidden in the depths of wormhole space. Concord has broadcast the gravimetric and electromagnetic signatures of these locations so the illegal sites can be found using onboard ship scanners. Smuggler dead drop and stash sites have been detected in all regions. With the operation, as evidence as a background of increased criminal and smuggling activity, a serious diplomatic crisis has sprung up between the Caldari state and the Gallente Federation, as evidence has emerged pointing towards Gallente involvement in the recent mass defection of infiltrators and spies within the Caldari state. An investigation by Caldari counterintelligence has identified a man meeting with Ezri Hakuzosu days prior to her defection as Leopold N. Vel'ash, a Gallente diplomat attached to the federal consulate on the Jita 4TAC4 trade hub. Leopold N. Vel'ash appears to have been assisting the Gallente Senate delegation visiting the Caldari state 2 months ago. One key goal of the Senate delegation's visit was to explore possible avenues of achieving a peaceful resolution of the status of the long-disputed Intaki system. Located in the contested Placid region, the war-torn system contains Intaki Prime, homeworld of the Intaki people. Extensive militia warfare over the past decade has seen the system change hands dozens of times, with periods of lengthy occupation and even planetary raiding by Caldari forces. The Senate visit had ended just as the Garista's spy ring was exposed, and Leopold N. Vel'ash is reported to have returned to the Federation with the Gallente delegation. The Caldari state's chairman, Akimaka Saraki, is known to have been in direct communication with President Celis Agard of the Gallente Federation as diplomats on both sides scramble to swiftly resolve this sudden crisis. The Gallente Federation firmly denies any involvement in the infiltration of state military and research agencies by Garista spies, but this development has already set back discussions on the future of the Intaki system, causing alarm on Intaki Prime. Federal authorities are refusing to confirm or deny reports that N. Vel'ash has subsequently disappeared. The Caldari state has added Leopold N. Vel'ash to their most wanted list, ignoring Gallente protests at listing a federal diplomat as a wanted criminal. The Scope will report as the situation develops. This is Alton Havary, reporting for The Scope.
Okay, so Leopold N. Vel'ash is the peacock, okay? That's step one. Step two, here are some records from Esri Hakuzosu, the lady who was meeting with Peacock. So she had infiltrated into deep into Caldari Navy, and she was spying on their project to make better dreadnoughts, right? Make dreadnought construction more efficient, and eventually come out with the Lancer dreadnought or whatever. So she was working with him. He was her point of contact. And we have these messages from her, these records from her. So record 1 says, side note, picked up some more chatter from an ancillary project other than Firebird. The general idea seems to be setting up more decentralized design groups. State got fat and slow in the last decade, but they seem they're finally getting their heads out their arses. This Saraki is no fool. We do well to keep a close eye. So Saraki is the head of Caldari State. He's the CEP chairman. Then entry to previous drop. Anyway, I also heard from the Peacock. He wants to meet again. That's the second time this week. I don't mind that he changes up the routine. It's good OPSEC. But most of the time, he just wants to bloody well gossip about side stuff. Mind you, this dirt on Sorrow guy, Ov. Now, Ovig Dursk is the head of Sorrow. Sorrow is one of the branches of Concord. Next, record 8 says, the Peacock told me he'd requested another operation against Taurus. I think it's a mistake. I told him as much, but he laughed it off. I think that he's drunk or high, actually, but you never know with him. I don't like that Merc like him is running this op, but Rabbit made him the contact back to the nest. Sparks told me he pulled off a job against the feds that the Black Eagles don't even know happened. Hard to believe. So, 2 things here. This Artaris raid, I don't have it pulled up here right now. But this was kind of a bigger deal. Garissa's pirates implicated in raid on House of Records archives. Caldari authorities have alleged that the Garissa's pirates are behind this weekend raid of the House of Records Information Center in Artura's system. The raid is believed to have penetrated several secure data vaults in the facility. Concord sources have confirmed that a number of disruptive raids were also mounted on several Concord stations in the system. DED investigators are reported to have viewed the raids on Concord Station as a distraction mounted while the main Garissa's infiltration force quietly penetrated the House of Records vaults. While the Caldari Chief Executive Panel has ordered a full inventory of the data held in the Artaris House of Records archives, there have been no comment from the organization itself. Informed sources have claimed that staff from Archive K have arrived in Artaris to oversee the House of Records investigation. Archive K has long been rumored to be a secret intelligence and security branch of the House of Records. The reason why this is important is because this is one of the only times that Archive K, one of the first times that Archive K was mentioned publicly outside of, Sinewave Omega. So this raid happened, and apparently that Leopold was connected to this, and he was wanting to do another raid. She thought it was a mistake. So then, but she mentions that he pulled off a job against the feds that the Black Eagles don't even know happened. Then later on, we see afterwards met the Peacock at the usual place. I don't know why he insists on using that bar. He'll get us all caught sooner or later. I passed on the latest news on Firebird. That's the Dread stuff. As usual, he tried to get some data out of me there and then. Does he think I carry it around on me? I don't know what the Rabbit sees in him, but I'm saddled with this guy as a handler. I'll just keep making a record of these security lapses so I don't. So a couple things, and then later on, the next thing is that everything went tits up, right? So, and we see here, federal state refuses to comment on status of Leopold and Vel'ash. And Leopold and Vel'ash has largely been in the, Marcus, tell me the system. But it's the system that's very close to where Zarzak is physically. It's actually where I thought the gates were connecting to originally because of that. But this has been like the location where a lot of the negotiations and peace treaties, or like at least the deals between the pirate groups, have been occurring over the last couple of months or years. That bit about Ovig may or may not be a reference to some aggressive memeing by a friend about him being snubbed companions. Or, well, a nerd, thank you. Yeah, but Lorelei, here's the thing, okay? We have, so Onakori is was part of the Sorrow attack, right? He was coordinating with Sakuni. Before we get any further into this, we should probably look into who he is. Annie Onakori, also known as the Fiend. So this is written in like 2003. So this is 10 years prior to that. So almost, almost 30 years ago, security forces of the Caldari system of Sorokin destroyed a civilian ship. The headquarters of Hasiota, a Caldari corporation, are located in the system. The ship was found trespassing and refused to change course despite numerous warnings and was blown up. On board the attack was numerous radicals, both Caldari and Gallente, demonstrating against recently exposed information about dubious drug experiments the corporation was undertaking, involving, for instance, slaves provided by the Amar. All but one of the radicals were killed in the ship blowing up. The only survivor was the ship captain Aki Onakori, protected by his capsule. His wife and children were killed. He swore revenge against Sorrow. He hates Sorrow. He hates pharmaceutical companies. Okay? But the Fiend is not only cunning, he's also paranoid. He never stays long in one place. This extreme paranoia has served the Fiend on his ongoing crusade against the pharmaceutical industry and other totalitarian institutes with no regard for human life, as he himself phrases it. Even if he's hunted man, the Fiend still finds time to plan and execute his terrorist attacks that have made him famous. So, this dude was mentioned at the very beginning of the game, like 2003, and then never mentioned again until 2016, when Sakuni is working with him. So what this tells us is that, or at least is working with his agents, right? So Onakori still is around, still has agents, and is still going after Concord. Because remember, Darkness Visible is an attempt, I forgot to mention this, the big thing that they're trying to drop it on is Concord City, okay? So, yeah. It makes sense that Onakori is attacking Concord, specifically Sorrow. Now, what does this have to do with Leopold? Well, first and foremost, if you look, Leopold has dirt on Ovig Dursk. So Leopold is connected to Sorrow and is feeding information to this spy based on him. Also, he pulled off a job against the feds that the Black Eagles don't even know happened. Okay. What do I think happened? Is it here? It's not here. Enter the Deathless. So, in... Oh, why did my image break? So, in 2016, a shadowy network of smugglers linked to the Caldari Thucker organized crime and mercenary groups have been steadily increasing in its reach across New Eden. The ruthless organization between the likes of Intara, Krulifer, Anakonorbo, and Sekkel cannot be ignored. This is actually a more recent post, but back in the history, in 2016, there was this. So basically, the Serpentis had started building their capital construction yards. And the FIO, the Federal Intelligence Agency Office, had collected this dossier of information and had passed it over to the Senate, right? Somehow, shortly thereafter, that dossier ended up in the hands of the Deathless, which then ended up in the hands of Upwell. So this says, the unusual statement from General Karashi follows unconfirmed reports of a stolen copy of the FIO dossier of the Serpentis military buildup making its way into the hands of an entity known only as the Deathless. While being confused with the exact status of the Deathless, these reports allege that this identifier was recently used in the hiring of several mercenary corporations previously active on the planet Shendeli, which is related to just before then. Private military forces in Intara Direct Action, Ostracon Agency, and Sekkel Expeditionary Group has disengaged from Shendeli Civil War as part of sovereign non-complete clauses in their contract. So that tells us that Intara Direct Action, Ostracon Agency, and Sekkel Expeditionary Group is related to the Deathless. Ostracon agency goes on to then get control of the agency a year later. But it would appear as if this dossier being stolen is the thing that the Peacock did, right? Because if the Peacock was working for the Deathless even back then that could be the job that he pulled off against the feds that the Black Eagles don't even know happened. So this explains how the Deathless got his hands on the FIO dossier in the first place, okay? So I don't even remember where we're at on this one. Leopold and Valari works for the Deathless. So that's where all of that comes from, okay? But I also want to dig in a little bit deeper into this. Right? Hold on. Never mind. That's down here. Any Anakori is the Deathless. So I don't have to justify that until later. But just know that I think that Ani Anakori and the Deathless are the same person. They have the same dislike for sorrow. They have the same, even the idea that like the Fiend was the one that didn't die, and this is the Deathless, and his attempt to kind of bring people together and network the different pirate groups. There's a lot that kind of vibes with Deathless being Ani Anakori, especially since the Deathless emerges at the same time that we know that Anakori is operating with things like Sakuni. But we don't see anybody named the Fiend doing any operating, but it would make sense that the Fiend would pick up a new nickname. All right, that's enough of that. Isogen 5. Isogen 5. Isogen 5 is an exceedingly rare, extremely unstable variant of Isogen found only in bright blue stars type O1 systems. It is a rarity at this point. Until recently, it was half believed to only be theoretically in nature. It glows very brightly. It may have been used in Jamil Sorum's superweapon. We get more information from Concord's report. Sorry for the brightness. On 10th of March, YC111, 2009, 10 star systems in the New Eden cluster were struck by a previously unrecorded stellar event called a mass sequence CME anomaly. The cataclysm killed over 190 million people, the bulk of whom resided in the underground cities of Salient 1. The events appear to have been caused by the detonation of several separate stockpiles of Isogen 5, which is a highly volatile, naturally occurring material only found in the proximity of Class O stars. Immediately following these explosions, concentrated waves of plasma emanating from the local sun dissipated throughout the affected systems, along with focused magnetic line obliterating everything in their path. Although each system affected by the catastrophe was a host to Class O star, there's no obvious patterns to their locations. However, each system was struck by identical events simultaneously, despite their physical separation by many light years. Shortly after the event took place, numerous space-time topological point defects, or wormholes as they are now commonly called, began appearing throughout New Eden, also with random frequency and distribution. To this point, the only naturally occurring wormhole in the entire cluster was the Eve Gate, which collapsed thousands of years ago. These new defects, literally tears in the fabric of space-time, were found to be stable enough to allow passage of starships. Despite warning that the egress points of these defects were unknown, and that their stability was likely temporary, many Empyreans began traveling through. Blah, blah, blah. System TTAC-IPZ was classified as a vital point in the interest of the eyes-only investigation of Empress Jamil's Zerafect weapon. The weapon named after the city above which the weapon was used with devastating effect against the Mimitar Elder Navy force. TTAC-IPZ was under Thanatos surveillance at the time of Apocrypha event and reported identical solar anomalies before disappearing. Like Salient 1, the innermost planet of TTAC-IPZ was destroyed, and Gamma Burst was traced back to the vicinity of an ancient Terran station orbiting the same planet. The station, whose origins predated the closure of the Eve Gate by 14,000 years, was a location where an extremely rare and volatile mineral known as Isogen 5 was stockpiled. This mineral exists only in the presence of blue star systems and loses its volatile properties when removed from its original locale. Isogen 5 possesses unique gravitonic properties whose behavior is not understood. Its scarcity and hostile native environment makes it difficult to study. It is not known why the Terrans were stockpiling the material. Before its destruction, Thanatos discovered that drones manufactured autonomously within the station possessed the technology to move the material from its source to the station. Conventional ships can't even approach it. Later, it was discovered that the same technology that protects these drones is used in the Zero Effect weapon housing, which requires the mineral as a primer to fire. But most importantly, Thanatos observed that the low orbit area where the weapon was fired remained symptomatic of dark matter collisions observable just outside of the event horizon of black holes. Crossbane gravitonic distortions in normal spacetime still resonate at both the site of the former site of the Terran station obliterated during the Apocrypha event. Subsequent Thanatos units confirm that all 10 Apocrypha locations contain the same post-event traces of residue Isogen 5 detonation, all of which were presumably large enough to cause the immense gamma burst recorded at each site. Conclusions. The Isogen 5 stockpiles were entangled, either the detonators or the material itself. No other explanation can account for simultaneous events across multiple star systems. The purpose of the stockpile was to draw an energy yield from the sun that Isogen 5 by itself could not reach to achieve some kind of critical mass. The Terrans had the means to transport the material anywhere they wished. There's no discernible reason why they would need structure so large and close to the star, except for the explicit purpose of amassing concentration of large enough to interact with the star. The energy expenditure was intended to be destructive. The lack of Terran structures anywhere else in the system, in addition to their placement in environmentally hostile locations near Class O stars, suggests that they were built with the intent to eventually destroy them. It is probable that the Terrans were conducting an interstellar transit system similar to, but much more advanced than our own Stargate transport system. The post-event granitonic residue Isogen 5 properties, placement of the near massive objects of Class O stars, resulting in topological point defects, and the consistent presence of sleeper colonies in W space, suggests that the Terrans already had jump technology but were attempting to harness natural forces to achieve a similar result. The transit system was either incomplete when the event occurred, or was detonated incorrectly, or we do not yet understand how to use it. What appears to be Empyreans as random wormhole activity may in fact follow a pattern, but there's no such analysis has been attempted. The New Eden leading authority of sleepers was Dr. Martin. Yeah. Okay, great. Yes, this is from Templar 1. So Isogen 5 is like the Eve MacGuffin. It's worth noting, although it says O1 stars, most of those stars that were used in the explosion are now AO, and Triglavians are particularly interested in blue stars. But, and here's the kicker, Triglavians are particularly not interested in O1 blue stars when they were attacking. When they started attacking, they discovered that they were statistically attacking blue stars more than any other stars by a wide margin. But within that, it was the statistically anomalous how little they were going after O1s. So they went after blue stars more than you would statistically expect, and they went after the blue stars that weren't O1 more than you would expect. And all of the subsequent transmuters built by Amar, all four empires and the Deathless are all on AO blue stars, which are the smaller energetic ones. Yeah, so there's theories about this. I think that my biggest theory is that the Yanyong were the masters of gravitonic energy, and so this was a Yanyong device that was designed to help them either breach contact or blow up basically attack the Talican, who had occupied what is now wormhole space at the time. The Quartermaster. The Quartermaster is a guy from the Valkyrie. The Quartermaster was working with, but not connected to, but not like loyal to, Fatal, one of the heads of the Garistas, as working for the Valkyrie project. And the Quartermaster was kind of pumping everybody for information. The Quartermaster showed up in Eve during the Warzone thing, where we had to actually get trinary data out of Drifter Rex and turn it into him. And we discovered in Eve Valkyrie, you're going to hear a quote, you're going to hear him talk right now about Solitude. The place that he's hunting for, the data that he's hunting for, is the location of a drifter hive. Okay? So here is the Quartermaster.
Hello.
I'm going to play this because sometimes people say that the Quartermaster might be the Deathless. I just want to prove that wrong.
If you find this, listen to me very closely. I had very little time before Fatal's forces moved in to contaminate this place. The residents of Solitude left little behind. They cleaned right to the source. I need you to come find me. It's going to be a war zone up here. This technology will change things. Our work has not been in vain. It's more than I ever imagined. A message from the ancients.
So, yeah, he's an interesting dude. He's a broker in ancient technology. He had enough power to redirect a Stargate under construction. The facility that he found was a Thucker facility in Solitude, which had information of the location of the Drifter Hive. The person of interest in Solitude? Which one do you mean? You mean the Quartermaster? So, and of course, the Quartermaster has not been active since Valkyrie that we know of. No, well, like the Quartermaster was in space during the Warzone update. That's why he says it's going to be a Warzone. He's citing the fact that it's actually the Warzone update. That this was actually the update that made it so that Valkyrie didn't require VR. The update that they didn't say to anything. Oh, hold on. Are you talking about what he says? Hold on. I missed it.
Hello. If you find this, listen to me very closely. I had very little time before Faysal's forces moved in to contaminate this place. The residents of Solitude left little behind. They cleaned this
He's looking for a
place
place, not a person.
All the tech is stripped from the walls. It's been gutted. An empty shell. I did find something, however.
Yeah. The Quartermaster is missing. But I don't know of any other person of interest that you're talking about. Okay. Solitude is a Valkyrie map that's in the Great Wildlands. Is that true? That's actually very likely. That makes so much more sense. Okay. So Solitude is the name of the map, which makes sense. And it's in Great Wildlands, which is why it's a Thucker facility. Okay, great. That makes sense. We're good. So there's a reasonable chance that the Deathless and the Quartermaster know each other, working together, but probably not the same person. Now then, let's ask a question. Whatever happened to the Awakened Infomorph? What is the Awakened Infomorph? Well, oh, no. That one's dead. Come on, archive. During the past 2 weeks, this is from YC113, which is 2011. So this is pretty much in the lead up to and related to Sancha's incursions. So the wormhole stuff is kind of wrapping up. We're moving into incursions, but all of this lore is kind of tied together. And from this comes the Awakened Infomorph. During the past 2 weeks, an infomorph is like your consciousness, your brain. Like you have a physical body, that's your clone. And then you have a brain, that's the infomorph. During the past 2 weeks, an awakened infomorph has been increasingly spotted in systems across New Eden. New and interesting developments have followed in its wake, including increased sleeper aggression, changes in Sancha's strategy, and the reported construction of new drone structures in the Genesis region. Last Tuesday, the Blazing Angels Alliance discovered an awakened infomorph on their directional scans during standard wormhole mining operations. Shortly after, a wormhole opened up in, quote, the middle of a gravimetric site, and sleepers came pouring out. Stayed Slate Nightstrom. So that's pretty cool. During last week's Sancha's blockade of Jita and in the new Caldari system, an awakened infomorph was spotted observing the battle between the Capsuleers and Citizen Ostur. That was one of the events for leading up to the incursions. Finally, reports from the Seneos Accord sign This past Saturday, they say that they've spotted an awakened infomorph in the Promised Land and the surrounding region. This region was once dominated by the Blood Raider pirates. However, their influence is being slowly displaced by increasing rogue drone presence. Local and assigned pilots have confirmed that, quote, rogue drone hives are now appearing in the area. Visual analysis suggests that their sites are generally small to medium size, off-grid, and in medium to late stages of construction. Speaking to sign pilot unit XS365BT, she let slip that there was, quote, another drone complex within the dead end system, which she recently surveyed. It is unknown whether or not it has been the same awakened infomorph in all of these sightings. However, presence has been linked to unusual events. So, there's a bunch of but the awakened infomorph is the name of the person. Okay? So this is what the awakened infomorph looks like. It's like her name is Awakened Infomorph. So the first sighting, we talked about all these. The weirdest one is the dead end transmission. On YC113-729, a contributor for the Eric Jalon project received a mysterious transmission while sending binary messages in the dead end system in an effort to communicate with rogue drones. The message received was encoded in base 64 format. It has been speculated that, due to the proximity of Dead End to Promised Land, that the awakened infomorph's presence is somehow related to the transmission. The transmission is yet to be reproduced and did not, in itself, reveal anything significant. Due to this, the matter cannot be pursued further. So, I always have a beard. I do need to shave my throat a little bit again. But yeah, awakened infomorph, very mysterious, probably either connected to rogue drones, sleepers, Sancha, precursor crisis. This is a block in the puzzle that we've never actually made fit anywhere per se, but a lot of people like to bring it up. Alpha clones use drifter technology. We've kind of already addressed that. Airing Genesis region, former sister of Eve and sanctuary scientist Taya Akira, notable for exposing details of the SOE presence in Thera, has alleged that the new alpha cloning technology recently developed by the SOE combines data from the SOE Project Discovery, research from the Sanctuary Scientific Outpost in Thera, and techniques hitherto unknown to New Eden scientific community. Speaking exclusively to the scope, from a secure location in the airing system, Taya Akira was warned that the Sanctuary research in Thera included exploration of, quote, profoundly dangerous remnants of technologies touching on neuro-cybernetic adaptation of artificial intelligence. End quote. Akira is now the leader of SOE Splinter Faction, calling themselves the Pharaohs of Thera. Went on to explain that she and the group has been monitoring the SOE Project Discovery and believe that it be aimed at, quote, a complete understanding of the drifter, which is to say Jove biology, whether natural, adapted, or profoundly altered by integration with artificial life systems, end quote. Taya Akira's starkest warning came from the claim that, quote, the combination of Thera research with Project Discovery findings is dangerous in its own right, but my sources within the Sanctuary have told me that a new technique has been added to the mix that has unlocked a new cloning technology that the sisters have given to the core empires. Asked to explain the danger, Akira would only say, Anoikis, Thera, and the Drifters are dangerous beyond any threat that you can imagine. All of humanity must be beware of this danger, and not blindly fall into a trap of our own making. The Sanctuary and the Sister of Eve leadership issued a brief comment that the claims on the claims when approached. Quote, our former sister Taya Akira was a brilliant scientist, but the tragic events that took place in Thera during YC116 took a great toll on her. Physically, we feel sure emotionally. Physically, and we feel sure emotionally. We would willingly welcome her back and help her to recover from that terrible experience. Nevertheless, with all respect for Taya, we must reject the claims of danger involving our hugely successful Project Discovery efforts, and most certainly with regards to the new cloning technology that is vital to the ongoing defenses of humanity during the Drifter crisis. Yeah, so... A recent engagement between capsuleers associated with Seraph and a combined Circadian Seeker and Drifter tactical group resulted in the destruction of more than 20 Seekers and 50 Drifters. Jove observatories in space. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, the reason why this is important is like, so October 28th, 2016. Going back to Sine Wave Omega. So, sorry. Sakuni is apparently protecting the attempt to, for the Alpha Clone Project because he assassinates the guy who's looking into it, right? But then it gets announced on September. That's how months work, right? Yes. In September, he meets up with Sakuni, or hold on, I have the timeline here. So the assassination happens. Sorry. So Sakuni meets with Malatu Shakur. They talk about this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. Then Latimus informs Sakuni that the data recovered from the Serpentis raids by Upwell risks exposing Project Ascension. That's the Deathless raids against Upwell, or sorry, against the Serpentis shipyards, the Shadow of the Serpent event, which is where we got the Deathless from. So this is all tied together, right? So the raids from the of the Serpentis facilities, because the Serpentis were one of the smugglers being used for the Ascension Project, this puts the data for Project Ascension into compromised position, which is then 2 days later, he shows up to Shattrath City and meets up with Mochin and gets confirmation that AG-12 is investigating it, but hasn't appreciated the scope of it, to which Sakuni then assassinates him. And then he contacts Anikori with that message, proceed with action phase of Offspring Cephas at your discretion. It's very possible that Offspring Cephas is the Alpha Clone Project, or the revealing of it. And initiate orientation phase of darkness visible as soon as possible. But it's worth noting, remember, Offspring Cephas, whatever it is, failed. So then, on October 14th of 2006, or 16, YC118, Project Ascension is revealed to the Concord Assembly, right? Then, as we just read, on the 28th, the Pharaohs of Thera, including Taya Akira, accused the Alpha Clone Project of using drifter samples. Then, the next day, Taya Akira is meeting with Sister Latimus on Concord, in Ulai, where Sakuni assassinates Latimus, and Taya Akira is rescued by a rogue drone. So that's where we're at with that. Krezhnik Svarog. So we all know Zoria Triglov. Zoria Triglov is the detached executive troika for the sublimation of the Posh Lost Flow. Okay? Don't worry about it. You won't be tested. Now, there are these different data streams by the Triglavians where they encountered their different forces. So they, drifters, rogue drones, capsuleers, Sancha, and then this is their invasion plan. So when they encounter the Sancha, some things happen. So the first thing that happens is a group of Damaviks encounter Damaviks from the Dazbog subclade of Svarog clade encounter a bunch of Sancha. They determine that they are hive-linked, which causes them to trigger a policy of destroying hive-linked people. So they attempt to destroy the ships, and they report it was done. We tried to kill them, and we did it. Then clade ships of the 3 tactical... So then a bunch of Damavix from the Zembog subclade of the Veles clade encountered vessels under the guidance of Hiveling for Narania and reverse side coordinate, blah, blah. Invocation of ancient time accepted Noema of the extirpation of Hiveling Narania proceeded same as before, so we tried to destroy them. But material realization was unacceptable, but we failed. Intosis entry of Hive-linked foreign Narania, Sancha, into the body of 3 tactical classification clade ship commenced at reverse time coordinates, indecipherable, and corrupted Narania of Zembog subclade. So the Triglavians, Sancha breached the Triglavian ship and began corrupting the people inside of the ship. The Koshoi, which is like a leadership position, of the tactical troika advises immolation, and the Nafka, which is like a computer, consented and invoked immolation at reverse time coordinates, blah. So they start to get corrupted and they blow up the ship. Then the Gurumavi subclade of the Perun clade reported to convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle that an entosis and corruption of the multi-body tracking pylon by Hivelink for Narania. So they send out the Dazbog subclade of the Starlog clade, which is the same group from the first report. And what do? They say, and invoked Noema of extirpation of Hivelink Narania on corrupted clay pylon with accepted material realization. So we fought him. We killed him. We fought him. Holy shit, we didn't kill him. They almost took us over, but we had to blow ourselves up to prevent ourselves from becoming corrupted because of the fear of what might happen if we became corrupted. Oh, they started corrupting a tower. Oh, we blew them up. Little suspicious. It seems weird that the Dazbog subclade, anytime the Dazbog subclade show up, they just like, we're good. They got killed. Convocation of Triglav outside. So then the next report. Convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle received prayer of the detached executive troika for the sublimation of Pashlos flow for evaluation of the processioning flow, winnowing discourse operating as elements in relation to Hivelink for Narania. Sounds very complicated. Very similar to every single report. In the 4th report, there's almost always a call for the winnowing of discourses. In other words, hey, we got to make a decision about these guys, okay? But in this case, the convocation denied relief of prayer from the detached executive troika for expanded mandate in subornos concerning corruption of Hive-linking corrupted Narania. Convocation invokes special mandate for advancing time evoked Operation Troika. So Zoria says, hey, I'd like to move forward with this whole Hive-linked guys thing. And the convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle says, nah, that's not your purview. Sorry. We're going to have a whole special operation for this. So what's this special operation? It goes on. The convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle by imperative evokes special operation Troika for the extirpation of corrupted Narodnia from Dazbog subclade of the Svarog clade. Special operations Troika shall have mandate in subornos for advancing time grave communication with clades assembled in subclade militant to realize the accepted noema of extirpation of corrupted Narania and hive linking within the flow of YellowCladKing, the Divoolej Buyon, and the ancient domains. And then later on, we see this message, like they do a review of what they did with the Triglavians. They do this like pull. They say, okay, well, they're doing a record against. They're trying to look up a comparison to the Sancha, and what they pull up is this Jovian Triglavian satellite polity, JTNBZ X12T7, with the category of hybrid, subcategory of hive mind, which appears to be iteration 1.2. So it is my belief, this is 100% speculation here, it is my belief that this is saying that the Triglavians and the Jovians were, at one point in the past, worked together to create the sleeper civilization, right? Advancing time discourse element. Effective action for elimination of hive mind corruption should not be hindered by imperative of further sampling. Special operations Troika as mandate for extirpation of corruption of hive linking where manifested. Not limited to physical presence of hive linking augmentations, and shall include informational biocoding, mimetic corruption, and perverse ideologies. Extirpation of Pashlos undoubted. Sorry, going back to they looked at the resolution of what to do with that previous polity. So they had a society connected with the Jovians. that was a hybrid hive mind society. Might have been sleepers, might not have been sleepers, might have been proto-sleepers. Apparently, something went wrong, and the resolution of this case was recorded as the total extirpation or destruction of the polity society with a program of integrity checking and immolation for contacts. So not only did they destroy everybody within that group, but anybody who was connected to it, anybody who thought the same thoughts, anybody who was in that same mindset was destroyed, rooted out and destroyed. It was a big deal. And it's probably one of the reasons why the Triglavians have such a strong policy against hive linking to this day. So, and they point out that the special operations trach is to extirpate all corrupted hive linking, not just physical augmentation, but mimetic corruption, so cultural corruption, perverse ideologies, etc. And then later on, it says the preparation of special operations troika capabilities ongoing in parallel with the requirements of the detached executive troika for sublimation and posh loss flow. Material and energy priority for Zoria Triglav is established. So Zoria Triglav is the detached executive for the sublimation of posh loss flow. So it seems to be implying here that that the assets, the priority of the group right now is Zoria's efforts, which makes sense because this is as they're gearing up for invasions. And so that's Zoria's main effort. So this is saying like, okay, so the special operations troika has efforts in parallel to the detached executive, but the priority is on the detached executive. And it says, advancing time discourse element response to widespread and deep hive linking corruption by augmentation, biocoding, mimetic, and ideological vectors must be uncompromising. Special operations troika will realize except in Noema, task of Krezhnik Svarog is to purge corruption, achieve integrity, and insist on immolation of the perverse. No glorification, nor yet mortification, only extirpation of the posh loss undoubted. Okay, so here's the thing. There are two interpretations to this. There's the normal interpretation, the standard interpretation that a lot of people have, which is to say that Svarog are a bunch of badasses, okay? Dazbog subclade of the Svarog clade, particularly badass. Actually, it's worth noting that, like, Dazbog subclade of the Svarog clade are also used somewhere else. Hold on. If we look at the description of the Vedmak subclade of the Svarog clade relinquishes the adaptation schema of reverse time accepted 81 tactical troika classification into the clade flow of Triglav after cladistic mortification by Dazbog subclade. Strategic troika has advancing time pressure for adaptation into tactical subroles. So, a cladistic mortification, whatever the hell that is, was performed by Dazbog subclade against the Vedmak subclade, leading to the Vedmak plans being relinquished and given up for use by the rest of the Triglavians, it would seem. Okay? So it's very possible that the Dazbog subclade are just giant badasses, okay? And so, like, they're like, okay, well, this problem is a big deal. Like, the Triglavian threat, the Sancha threat is unique enough of a threat that we need a dedicated worker for it. It's not something for the detached executive troika. She's got enough on her plate. We're going to make a new special operations troika, and your job is to just root out Sancha and kill them everywhere. Anybody who's friendly with them, anything. Good indication of this is, like, they do look into, like, they say, encountered augmented human entities with non-singleton formats have met diagnostic threshold. The spread of this, of the ideas outside of the Sancha, and it could just very well be that that is the task of Krezhnik Svarog. And what we're reading here is that it says, the convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle by imperative invokes special operations troika for the expiration of corrupted Norania. So it's the special operations operational troika for the expiration of corrupted Norania, and it comes from the Dazbog subclade, the Svarog clade. Now, everybody put on your tinfoil. The other theory, my theory, is that this is a false report. Okay? Dazbog subclade or the Svarog clade, all they do is say, like, oh, yeah, it's fine. But yet, the Vel'ash clade almost get taken over. And then later on, Dazbog's like, it's fine. And the only other thing we know about the Dazbog subclade is them destroying or mortifying another subclade, which we don't really hear about very much in the rest of the logs. So I interpret this to actually say the convocation of a Triglav outside of the struggle by imperative invokes Special Operations Troika for the extirpation of corrupted Narodnia from Dazbog subclade of the Svarog clade. I think that this is their entire title. I think that it's entirely possible that Sanchez Nation has corrupted the Dazbog subclade of the Svarog clade. My evidence for this is the fact that if that was true, that would explain why the detached executive troika for the sublimation of Pashloth flow was not qualified to deal with this problem, because it's not an external issue, it's an internal issue. So let's look again at the directive of Krezhnik Svarog. Krezhnik Svarog's directive is extirpation of corrupted hive linking where manifested, and later on it says task of Krezhnik Svarog is to purge corruption, achieve integrity, and insist on immolation of the perverse. Which is a really, really weird way of putting it, if what they're supposed to do is just go hunt down everything related to Sancha and kill them. Why would they have to achieve integrity? What does achieving integrity mean in that case? Could it possibly mean that the Svarog clade is currently in more disarray than they care to admit, and that this integrity is the fact that the Dazbog subclade is effectively gone rogue, and Svarog, the task of Krezhnik Svarog has been to hunt for and take down those corrupted Triglavians and their connection. Their design is to achieve integrity with the Svarog clade. The integrity of the Svarog clade has been compromised. The integrity of the Svarog clade has been corrupted and needs purging. And the perverse ideologies must be immolated, just like they were for the sleeper civilization years before, back when they were related to them. So that's what I think is going on here. But a lot of people disagree. But that's what I think is going on with Krezhnik Svarog. And by the way, going all the way back, this is why we have an encrypted semiosis console. And this is why that encrypted semiosis console is so important. Because think about it. Krezhnik Svarog is explicitly designed to go after Sanchez Nation. There's a Sanchez Nation threat, which means cybernetics, viruses, that kind of stuff. So that would be why the Svarog semiosis console that appears later on in the development of things, that console has special protective encryption, perhaps to protect it from Sancha corruption. Because the thing is that the Triglavians seem very interconnected. They're very protective of things like the clade flow. They're not hive linked, but there does seem to be a concern that corruption would spread throughout their network. So yeah, insist implies that they can't just do it all themselves. Yes, insisting means that they are requiring someone else do it, right? It seems very odd. Also, we've never seen Krezhnik Svarog in game. So, yeah, that's Krezhnik Svarog. Are we anywhere close to done? Quaif. This one's quick. Quaif plus Lidai equals mind control. Remember those subcranial nanocontrollers? So during the election, which of course the election was attacked by a series of terrorist attacks and then had to be delayed, right? This is from the election. It was finally finished, or it was ongoing, I should say. And we see Quaif Mega Corporation providing redundant channels for federal and election communications on its encrypted corporation network. Fedmart secure through physical and digital outlets. One ISK voucher. Blah, blah, blah. There's a bunch of questions about stuff. Synth booster manufacturer offers complimentary election day neural boosters. Federal authorities investigating Serpentis Corporation links. Guris's Pirates main suspects after daring raid Live facility. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, Lidai facility raiding, stealing 100,000 subcranial nanocontrollers, right? And then Celis Agard is elected, but if we go down here, we see Quaif Mega Corporation accused of using, quote, soft drink responsive subcranial nanocontroller trial to push favored Senate candidates. So let your conspiracies go wild. Now it's worth noting that Quaif has increasingly aligned themselves with the Caldari state over the last couple of years. And there has been a lot of stuff with senators. So feel free to make plenty of accusations that your favorite senator, Belleron, or any of the others, are in fact actually a plant by Lidai through Quaif using mind control devices. Because, you know, that's where we're at. Mithra's Gate. Years ago, there was this skin. It was the very first skin that was ever given out or, you know, sold that had like a really cool particle effect. It has the flame effect on the points. And it's called the Sariel Flame. But anybody who bought this was given a PDF of Mithra's Gate, which it wasn't made publicly available for a while, right? And this story is about a couple of angels finding this facility that looks like an ancient Jovian or some sort of ancient Terran facility that has a lot of weird connections to things like maybe the Triglavians. Mithra is, you know, there's a lot of references to like Mithraism, you know, Zoroastrianism, which is somewhat connected to the angels, but angels tend to go with more like Hebrew. But yeah, allegedly this was a very secret facility that they managed to find. And we don't really know very much about what came from it, but this is something that people have been hunting for ever since. In fact, it was suspected that the Mithra's Gate was the mysterious, unannounced landmark that was put into the game. However, if it is, it hasn't been discovered yet. Yeah, there is a thing that's noted that there's a lot of references to 3, you know, triple banks, triple power centers. Like there's a lot of things that are triplicated within a quantum entangled 4 helium engine with tripled outputs. Everything is kind of tripled, which is really weird considering this was just before the Triglavians came out. So there is some suspicion that this was like one of the earliest hints that the Triglavians, about the Triglavians. But otherwise, you know, this could also be called in very much so when it comes to the Deathless, because it's a Third Empire Jovian facility. So at least I think it is. So yeah, Mithra's Gate, very mysterious. The War of a Million Lies. So going back to Sakuni a little bit, when at the end of the story, when while they're meeting up with Zoshin and Sarkovis, right? No, Zoshin and Serdan Sokosh meet up. This is where Serdan Sokosh explains to him about that weapon, the big spike. But then after this interaction, we see this message, the final message of the whole thing. Oh, sorry, that was way early. But the final message, a personal note to an old friend, Genesis region, Uli system, YC120 0414. So this is the same. Yeah, same day. Okay. I suppose I should congratulate you and your friends on thwarting our latest little endeavor. So this is why I suspect that this is messaging either Ovig Dursk himself or perhaps Serdan Serkosh. Oh, and don't worry about me. I will recover from the blow. It wasn't that important in the grand scheme of things. Ironically, you've deprived your Concord pets of a courtesy I felt obliged to do them. Call it a warning. So, yeah, that's why I kind of think that they're referring to Serdan Serkosh, because Serdan Serkosh has Concord as their pets. That's the accusation, right? Concord's under the thumb of the Amar. You see, this plan was merely an infinitesimal in a greater integral, which is a weird thing to say because the drifter symbol is the triple integral. But either way, the lack of one moment of foreshadowing will not alter the inevitable future. After this, I imagine that you'll see your protege and others are suitably alerted. Your protege seemed to imply that the Sakuni, Zoshin, because this is when Captain Marshal Serdan Serkosh is kind of promoting Zoshin and putting him into play, which we don't know what he did from there. To the good, it's important that people are aware they are being taught a lesson. As for you, my old friend, I wonder, did you really believe the War of a Million Lies was over? Okay, cool. So what is... Yeah, equate 0, multiply infinity by 0. Yeah, exactly. Multiply your life by 0. So what is this War of a Million Lies, and why isn't it over? Well, if we go to one of the most famous chronicles in all of Eve, Inheritance, we see in the discussion between Venal and Matashi Reich, he's talking about the Society of Conscious Thought in its early days. He goes, Gorda Hoje died many decades before I was born. That's the founder of the Society of Conscious Thought. Ero Lebron, though, oh yes, I knew him well. He was older than me, but still in the prime of his life. Oh, no, sorry. Lebron was this founder. He was older than me, but still in his prime of his life when he founded the society. Oriah joined immediately. He saw the society in the society the future of the Jove civilization. After much discussion, debate, and persuasion, I followed suit. Then followed the War of a Million Lies, the rise to hidden power, and the suppression that followed. So, the Society of Conscious Thought transitioned themselves into almost like a secret society where they attempted to control the Jovian Directorate as a shadow, like as a what do they call it? Conspiracy theories. Always use this dark. Not a shadow government, is it? I don't know. Somebody will get it. So the idea is that this was disrupted and the society left and then went into, mainstream, the other empires areas where they started putting up schools and stuff. No, it's not that. It's deep state. That's what I'm looking for. Deep state. Thank you. Yep. So basically the Society of Conscious Thought tries to function as a deep state. That ends up being a problem. So they leave. They integrate into the other empires. And it says that the society could still play a role in shaping the future into which a human species can continue to survive in the New Eden cluster. So, there is this thing about Jovians really wanting to manipulate everything. That's kind of what they always do. So the idea is that this war of underground control of the Jovian Directorate and its assets appears to be ongoing. The War of a Million Lies is not over. The Philosopher's Wind attack was not equilibrium of mankind. Did we even talk about the Dread attack yet? Yeah, we did. So last time we talked about the EOM Dread attacks. There was a series of attacks by Dreads onto planets. They were all in territorial hotspots for political tensions between the different empires, and they used different mercenary groups from the different empires. Although it was eventually discovered that they were all actually an EOM plot to disrupt things because the EOM, the Equilibrium of Mankind, had secretly infiltrated all these different mercenary groups, and Alar Chakade revealed himself to be like an Equilibrium of Mankind. He shows up with his Doomsday to blow up not Kaha. Is it Tanu? Yeah, either way, whatever. But there's a thing about this. So there's all these different attacks, but one of the attacks didn't match quite the same profile as the rest of them. As the same time that this was ongoing, there was incredible amounts of fighting happening over Flossiswin. Flossiswin has been a point of major contention between the Minmatar and the Amar for almost a year at this point. In fact, actually more than a year, because not Serdan Sokosh, but the other guy that I just mentioned, Alar Chakade, was the Amarian general or commander in charge of the Flossiswin defense until he was captured and then eventually rescued during the Dread attacks, etc., etc. Okay? So Flossiswin is this very important site that is under active hostility by Sorum and Ardashapur. And so somebody noticed that when the EOM attacked, there were members from each of the other Dread attacks, except for the one that hit Flossiswin. So this guy was in Flossiswin on behalf of the Shining Flames, which are a Sorum group. This was the Dread attack in Flossiswin, but as you can see, there's no follow-up attack in Tanu, or in Kaha rather. So here is the Dread attack. Here is the Titan of Alar Chakade. See if I can find this. Yeah, it's Kaha. So we can see we have the all these different hold on. Okay, suffice it to say, all these guys are from different. See, you can see like this guy was in the Krux Special Task Group when they attacked Jinnerfa, but then was in Equilibrium of Mankind. This guy was in Krux Special Task Group that attacked Jinnerfa and then showed up there. Also, yeah, so yeah, never mind. There you go. So there's several of the Dread pilots from there. However, as noted, this guy's missing. And you can see he's not part of any corporation, whereas the other ones were and are. So the accusation is that Sorum used this opportunity to strike at Flossiswin during the confusion and chaos. That Sorum did a legitimate strike and used the crisis of the Dread attacks as coverage, or as a cover for that operation. I may have wound up giving the Titan data to the Black Eagles. Good for you. That's good. All right. The Book of Emptiness. I'm going to kind of skip over the Book of Emptiness. The Book of Emptiness is something I don't know that much about. There's an entire giant chronicle series called the Black Mountain that is related to that. And then there's two other chronicles called the Book of Emptiness Part 1 and Part 2 that I don't know that much about. What I do know is that the Society of Conscious Thought and the Sisters of Eve were in struggle with each other over this thing called the Book of Emptiness, which was apparently a mind control device. That's what I know. Attempted renegade AI hack of the SCC Kimatoro encrypted currency script exchange in Nibian. That's the longest one we got. Here we go. Angel Cartel. Guris's Pirates disavow involvement in attempted renegade AI hack of SCC Kimatoro encrypted currency exchange. So, yeah, Yeah, Kimitoro Stock Exchange suspends trading as bank freezes accounts on news of SEC security breaches. Republican Security Services suggests Garistas possibly used Triglavian technology provided by collaborators. But then the Garistas went on to disavow it. So we don't actually know who used the Renegade AI hack here in order to do this, but the Garistas said it wasn't them. Pretty good chance that it could be the Triglavians, but we're not 100% sure. Calikiota Mountain Excavation, another shorter one. Hold on. Yeah, so in 2019, we have a couple of things that occur that are both very similar to each other, although seemingly unrelated. Ishikone Corporation archaeological dig into the Calikiota Mountains in early stages, but significant findings are likely. With major clearance and environmental recovery work still ongoing in the CN Shiguru Titan crash zone of the Calikiota Peak region of Caldari Prime, the Ishikone Corporation has repeated its confirmation that significant archaeological findings are likely, but noted that the dig is in its early stages. Quote, it's a little too soon to say more about what we're looking at in the crash zone, but I can say that the Shiguru fall may have uncovered something remarkable, says Kuso Aikimura of Ishikone Cultural Capital Preservation Division. So that's weird. And we don't really get any follow-up about this. So this is one of those things that we might need to pay attention to, the politics of the corporations after this point, to know more about it. But around the same time is this one. In 2019, January, so this was, hold on. So this was 2 months prior. So 2 months prior to the Calikiota Peaks excavation, we have rare archaeological find sparks intertribal dispute. Controversy has erupted over the Galar Circle, an archaeology group associated with the Verakior tribe, successfully unearthed a rare cache of I'm just going to go Dokasi. I'm not pronounce the N. Hidden beneath the fields of Farmstead in the rural outskirts of Hekurniwi Township, and transferred them off to Outplanet Research Facility. So the Dokasi are advanced storage containers, typically measuring 1/3 of a meter on each side, that are known to have been used across the Minmatar Empire well before the Amar invasions, known as the Day of Darkness. According to Crusural tribal records, the Dokasi were capable of preserving biological matter for hundreds of years. The technology was lost at some point during the period covering the contact, invasion, and occupation of the Amar Empire. Leading archaeologist Giselda Feymar confirmed that to her circle that earlier recovered a data manifest listing the location of the cache and the contents of the Dokasi from a related site, but noted it had been heavily corrupted, mostly due to the electromagnetic damage inflicted during an Amar attack. Exceptionally, the cache itself contained several intact and sealed Dokasi, although others appear to have been damaged or broken by farming-related disturbances of the burial site. The news has been met with considerable controversy in Republic's influential and highly diverse archaeology community. Sukani Bokur, famed discoverer of the Kul Brutor wind traps in the Great Central Plain of Kulhim, condemned the Galar Use Circle's plan and called the conduct of the excavation disrespectful. Quote, before the invasion, these lands belonged to the Brutor tribe. The great clan of Kul Brutor may no longer be with us, but we are the kin right enough. These artifacts are a legacy for all Brutor, and they belong to us. The Galar Yu did not even consult us before digging there, and they should return these precious relics. Sukandi belongs to the Brutor tribe's Ihumanona circle, which has a long-standing rivalry with the Verakior counterparts. Conflicts between the two circles have often centered on cultural land rights due to tensions between the traditionally sedentary Brutor and the nomadic Verakior tribes. No comment on Sukandi's allegations have been made by the Galar Yu Circle. And then we see Oh, wait. I think this is wrong. Let's go back. Yeah, found it. Okay, so Whistleblower releases Undamaged Manifest. So, Aratara Kern, a graduate student and a member of the Galar U Circle, uploaded an undamaged copy of the Dogakasi Cache Manifest to Dark Galnet Forum, the core, this morning. Kearns released the following disagreement between the archaeological Galar U, blah, blah, blah. Responding to the leak, manifest listing as correct and entirely uncorrupted before involving other parties. Fremer declined to describe her circle's efforts to confirm the manifest's authenticity. The complete manifest suggests that some of the Dogasi contained spores of a fungal species known as Hapa that had deep ritual significance in pre-invasion Minmatar cultures. For the Nefantar tribe, the Hapa mold was a traditional ingredient in the tribe's ceremony, providing new clans to be founded. The mold would be turned into a powder and scattered on the site of the ceremony, acting as blessings to free new beginnings from grudges of the past. For the Quzxpon tribe, the Hapa was used in funerary rites and being ground up and mixed with a poultice, which then would be massaged into the departed scalps. Hapa mold is well attested in historical sources for being fragile, difficult to cultivate, and short-lived. Hapa is among the number of cultivated species that the Minmatar historians charged were deliberately targeted by a Mar campaign of chemical and biological warfare aimed at eliminating traditional Minmatar agriculture and cultural life. Hapa mold was believed to have become extinct during the occupation of Pator by the Amar Empire. But there's a... I name Gisela Famar as a mountebank and a fraud. This is the ethics violation of the most outrageous kind. It's clear that the Dogasi must be given into our keeping, especially with the full manifest confirms that at this time the Dogasi are being stored on land owned by the ancient Cruel Brutor clan. It further suggested that he would be sympathetic to hearing Nefantar and Quzxpon perspective on the potential fate of the relics given the special cultural role of Hapa in the traditions. I was growing licorice. For a part, the farmer says, quote, I was growing licorice on that land, but some snobby academics showed up, flashed a fancy piece of paper, and ripped up one of the fields. I haven't been compensated, and neither has my clan. Did Galar U Circle have a cultural recovery warrant, or did they pull this a fast one on me? By the way, it's not my land, it's clan holding, and I just am the field keeper here. I say we put the damn things in a museum. And I'm going to get my clan chief to petition Akasa Midgeler to make sure of it. And then finally, we see there's a compromise. It is true that historical ownership of these lands by Great Clan of Brutor Shrive was rather obscure. Our private archive contained most of the evidence pertaining to the matter. The Circle appreciates the confidence of the... Hold on. Let's look into it. That they had negotiated an agreement with the Dokasi relic dispute. The Dokasi has been discovered on the lands belonging to the clan of the Sebester tribe. However, this area is recorded as once being held by the defunct Great Clan of Cruel Brutor. Forging, Riri, field keeper... the farmer had a key role in forging an agreement through consensus as a representative of her clan and custodian of the lands. As part of the agreement, the Riri clan will receive allocation of the relics, which Gagnor confirmed would be donated to the Cultural Museum. Until such a time that the museum has installed appropriate storage and preservation equipment, their fragile Dokasi will remain in Galar U's circle of off-planet research facility. So yeah, they came up with an agreement. We did, in fact, recover the spores of the Hapa mold from one of the Dokasi granted to us. Unfortunately, we discovered that in the time between the extinction and now, it appears a large segment of the population developed a strong allergy to the spores. They gave our research interns burning rashes and watery eyes. We're unsure if the mold, separate from its spores, is an allergen. Nevertheless, in the event that we're able to grow a sustainable colony, we'll be willing to share the mold with the Quzxpon and infant Nefantar tribes. This was an important part of the Brutor tribe's cultural legacy, so work will continue. Now, the lead archaeologist of the Galar U Circle was permitted to resign after peers in the circle indicated that they would consider a request from the Verokyor tribe for dismissal from the group. The request had highlighted her apparently disingenuous conduct in the acquisition of the Degasi. The new lead archaeologist, Jonama Hade Adidi, announced, quote, "It is most important to us that we recover even a small portion of the technologies and techniques that were used in this wondrous relics. We hope that this remaining Degasi has been granted, we have been granted, will be enough, and our expertise to reverse engineer at least the basic principles," she said. And that is the end of that. We haven't heard anything about that since 2019 that I know of. Whew. All right. Almost done. Caldari Triglavian bioadaptation. A little bit of a weird one. So, like, we know that the Triglavians do a lot of bioadaptation. And the Caldari did take over the Edencom facilities and its connected Triglavian facilities in the system of Othanoon. And shortly thereafter, in 2023, March 17th, so YC125 this year, so 8 months ago, we see where is it? Gris's Pirates steal shipment of biotechnology. Caldari State Peacekeepers investigate claims of Sorrow Red Troop and derail commando unit atrocities in Pegalar. Pegalar is the constellation with the Ugalis in it. Here we go. Crash shuttle recovered from Yagali's 3 asteroid mining colony carrying, quote, bioadapted Caldari in combat armor. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this stuff. This is why I think the Ugalis is going to be tightly connected to this Vanguard stuff. And all, you know, whatever. So we're going to have to keep an eye on all of this. But we're going to finish up today with the Zera effect weapon. We've already talked about it. It was Jamil Soram's super weapon. So I will just finish off the day by demonstrating the Zera effect weapon. Not that. That's a different thing. So the Mimitar attack Concord in the Empyrean Age. They then take this massive fleet and they attack deep into Amar space. This is them blowing up the Concord Center. Here they all are fighting. Okay, so here is the elder. Hold on. A few more seconds. Here we go. No? Okay, here we go. So this is the Elder Fleet. And this is the planet. God, I can't remember the name of the planet. But this is the solar system Sorum Prime. This city down here below that you can kind of see, this is the city of Zera. It is actually the city that Jamil Soram was born in. So here's this Elder Fleet, this unstoppable, unknown force of Mimitar ships built from the Republic fleet and the Thucker tribe, cuts deep into Amar territory and risks taking out like a good chunk of the centerpiece of the Amar Empire and freeing a bunch of Mimitar. When above the planet of Jamil's birth, above her city, the thought to be dead Jamil Soram comes out of warp in an Abaddon with a special super weapon, which launches and infects the entire fleet, causing the shields of those ships to collapse in on themselves, destroying the entire fleet. All of the ships were crippled or destroyed, followed up by laser fire of the Amarians, killing them to a man. That is the weapon that was then later recovered by the rogue drones, found by the Sisters of Eve, hunted after, by the Blood Raiders and destroyed by the Thucker agent, the Thucker pilot, causing the Apocrypha event and the destruction of the Isogen 5 caches. And with that, we are at the end of Layer 2. We made it, guys! It only gets weirder from here. So, seriously, guys, I would recommend going back and making sure to read, watch through these things, maybe look up some of these things, because a lot of the stuff below this, like the next episode, which I think we're probably going to, I'm just going to try to run through all the rest of them in the next episode, probably, because it kind of gets, well, maybe 2 more, but we'll see. But everything below here starts to get even more either very unknown or known by extraordinarily few people, both in-game and out. And then below that is full-on, like, conspiracy theory mode. So, there you go. And we've already seen some hints to these. Taya Akiro is rescued by the Triglavians. The time-based experiment in the Triglavians on Anakori was the Deathless. Let's see. Chalkade and Deathglow. Although that's not... Kira was rescued by the Triglavian. Oh. Dang it. That's on 2 different layers. I should definitely delete that. And then from here, it gets weirder. Down here, it gets weirder. We'll look at that another time. But for now, I've been Ash Rothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put even into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. I really hope that this was fun to you guys. If you learned anything new today, please put a like. If there's something I messed up, or if you know more about one of these things, if you know about the Book of Emptiness, please comment down below any information about any of these things that you want. Or if you feel like I have missed something that should be on the iceberg, comment on it so that way we can add on to it. Also, we are working on, not only do we have like shirts and stuff for our, we have the cool merch like this, which we have, I think we have the invited ones now too, but we're working on patches. I think we're going to get patches. And Danny's going to hate me for showing this off ahead of time, probably, but it's fine. Here's an example. Ready? Oh boy, there's the Malro patch. And hold on, there's another one. Hey, thanks for the sub. No, where's the other patch? She has one for the invited. I saw it. Oh well. So yeah, I think that this would be a really cool thing. What I really want to do is make like merit badges, right? So that way you can get your Corp logo, and then you could also get like little merit badges of like a Logi merit badge, an E-War merit badge, etc., etc. Wouldn't that be cool? Let me know in the comments down below if you like that idea. But in the meantime, I do want to give my shout out thanks to the people on the list that isn't pulled up yet, including Abyssus, Aikawarazu Chan, Arkas Ilring, Belligerent Neckbeard, Black Rose Noble, Dajat Lemmont, Drake, Federation Frontlines, Ganai, J-Kun, Lumi, Midnight Space Monkey, Milk, Not Just Fun, Seeds of Plenty, Surrounding with No Eyes, Shodanar, Syliana Vel'ash, Tgen Tgen, Nephilim, Grendel, V-Rod Cruiser, Yantey Lepouf, Zalnex, Zero, as well as my Immortal tier supporters, 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Ebo Leet, May, Malak Starfire, Mercuton, Nihilum, LM1, Sheesh, and Rid. Thank you guys so much for everything. So tomorrow, I will either be streaming Raid Shadow Legends tomorrow or Thursday. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm going to be doing that because I want to knock out my Raid Shadow Legends stream prior to the expansion next week. So we're going to do that this week. I've got some cool stuff to show you. We've got new codes and stuff. In the meantime, we do have a clan that I think we still have some spots. Whatever. Either way, we're in the middle of a Clan v Clan. I don't think you can join in the middle of a Clan v Clan now that I think about it. So if you're in the clan, go do stuff so we can win. If not, get involved for the next one. But if you want to help out with Eve, both the Convocation of Empyreans, Convocation of Empyreans, Aderon Robotics, and the Invited are all recruiting, and we're all part of the Convocation network, so you can of course access all of these. We have activities in high sec, low sec, faction warfare, wormholes, and we're going to be on the bleeding edge when it comes to the corruption mechanics and the upcoming Havoc expansion and the development of Zarzak. We need your help. Please come join. If you need, if you haven't, or you need a new account, or if you're coming back to the game and you haven't gotten 1 million free SP ever on your account, there is a link that should be linked down below or in the chat that will let you get 1 million free SP if you just log in with your account or make a new account with that link. You have the honest knowing that it goes to, basically what it does is it'll send you to one of the referral links of one of my staff. So you're helping all of the great people that make the Convocation of Empyreans work. So thank you guys for that in advance. Hold on. I got a couple notes. Patches. Oh, yeah. And once again, thank you for everybody who participated in the survey. Keep an eye out on the YouTube's, my community page, because we'll probably be doing more surveys like that. I really liked it. We were talking about which video Danny should edit next. It's being worked on. It'll be done soon. We talked about it earlier. But more importantly, pro tip, I can't actually link the YouTube poll anywhere else. Like, it's really weird. It's really weird about linking specific community posts. So just, subscribe to the channel on YouTube and, keep an eye on the community posts. I post there if I'm going to be sick or, whatever. I try to post there. I've kind of transitioned from there from Twitter. So there you go. Also, of course, get involved with the Discord. You can flag yourself as interested in the YouTubes and stuff, so that way you get those pings or other activities, etc., etc. We're here for you because that's what the Convocation of Empyreans is here for, maximizing player engagement with EVE Online. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. And until next time, I have been Ashrathi, the voice of New Eden, and I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine.
Somehow managed to not discuss Down the Rabbit Hole. Go watch it. Search YouTube for Eve Down the Rabbit Hole. Good stuff.
For every city